podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premier Networks on Sunday, February 20th, 2022. This is episode 1870. Enjoy. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches. We're going to talk tech for the next 3 hours. I know, your worst nightmare. I'm sorry, but I'll try to make it easy on you. I'll try to do it in English and help you understand. I mean, after all, this is changing all of our lives some way, somehow. Even if eschew technology, you avoid it, you still can't, right? It's in there. It's all built in. If you want to talk high tech with me, I have a phone number, 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. Yes, even that's high tech. It's all digital now. It's all packets. It's going over the internet and all that stuff. 8888 Ask Leo. Yeah. I think a lot of times now when you use the phone, you actually are using the internet. Internet, so to speak. Sometimes it's a private network. Sometimes it's a voice over IP. 8888 Ask Leo. Website, techguylabs.com. That's free. No sign up, and there will be audio and video from the show after the fact, including all the silly things I do in the commercials. You'll also, we put a transcript up there so you can find what you're looking for and jump right to that part of the video. There's time codes in there and, of course, links. All the links. The team is listening and writing it down as we go. TechGuyLabs.com. That's free. No sign up. I'm waiting for the announcement to hit. And I'm waiting for the wave of disgruntlement when people realize that you will not be able to use Windows 11 without having a Microsoft account and without signing in online, which really raises some interesting questions. It's the only desktop operating system. Linux doesn't do it. Even Apple with macOS will allow you to create a local account and not sign into the internet. It's the only desktop operating system I know of that you have to sign into the internet. Now, this is true on our phones. We're used to that. I understand. You have to sign in. But because you can't really use a phone without connecting it to a network of some kind. But up till now, you could use a computer without connecting to a network. Like the Home Edition of Windows 11, the Pro Edition will now require an internet connection and a Microsoft account during setup. Now, there are, I think, kind of hacky workarounds. I wouldn't recommend them, but I think they're out there. Not the easy one that used to be you could just unplug the internet and it would see that you didn't have the internet and say, okay, fine. Just log in. Okay, just create a local account. Okay. Not anymore. It's going to say you have to connect to the internet, which seems odd to me. That you would, I mean, it is the case. A computer without the internet is kind of like a fish without a bicycle. I mean, it needs they go together, but at the same time, there are people who don't want to go on the internet or want to go on the internet but do so anonymously, privately. Not anymore. So the best advice, I guess, from the experts is create a dummy Microsoft account, set up your Windows online, and then create a local account and then just sign out of the Microsoft account. Don't throw it away. You'll still need it someday. Now, this is not yet in the public build, so I may be premature. Maybe Microsoft will hear us going, what? And change their mind. It's possible. It could happen. It does happen. We'll see. We are, according to the rumor mill, 16 days away, 2 weeks and 2 days away from a new Apple iPhone, the iPhone SE successor, the little relatively inexpensive iPhone, which I recommend to a lot of people. If you don't want to spend $1,000 on or $800 on an iPhone, the iPhone SE is a good choice, and it's the most compact iPhone, and it's pretty darn good. And Apple sells a lot of them, I think, so they'll be updating that. We're pretty sure. Also updating the iPad. If you're in the market for an iPad Air, that might be a good choice. I would wait, and see what they do. The question is, will they announce a new Macintosh on March 8th? Well, first of all, we're not sure that it's March 8th. All of this is rumor, right? Speculation. No one knows what Apple's really going to do, but the rumor is pretty strong. And in the Russian FCC, the Central Asian FCC, Apple did post 4 new computers running Mac OS. At least one of them is a laptop. So usually this happens shortly before an announcement. So we'll be interested to see. My prediction, a Mac Mini, an updated MacBook Air, maybe even the M2 chip in a MacBook Pro. I don't know. One thing I would like to tell those of you who are interested in Macintoshes, I know that's a small number, but those of you who are, see, I covered Windows, now I cover Mac. I'll have Linux news next. No, I won't. Well, maybe I will. I'll look. Those of you who use Macs or are waiting for a Mac should know there's the M1 chip and the M2 chip, and you might reasonably say, well, the M2 chip is better, right? It's one better. Yeah, no. This is going to be a little confusing. I'm hoping Apple will adopt some other nomenclature to make this clear. The M2 chip is, yes, a newer chip based on the chip in the iPhone 13, the A15 chip, but it will be the low-end version of that chip, which will be slower than the high-end version of the M1. So the pros will want the M1 Pro or the M1 Max, or what I'm hoping, and I doubt this will happen, I'm hoping they'll introduce a third variety of the M1. There's the Pro, there's the M1 Pro, the M1 Max. We need a third one, like Super Max. I don't know. Some third, even higher end. Or what they'll do is put multiple M1 Maxes or something in this Mini. Anyway, actually, the rumor I saw said there will just be an M1 Pro in the Mini. But that's still faster than the M2, if that makes any sense at all. The M2 is initially, just as the M1 was for the low end. I'm going to stop right here. This is just, I'm digging a deeper and deeper hole. When it comes out, I'll explain it. Sam Abuelsamid, our car guy, coming up in just a little bit. He will probably mention the good news that NHTA, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, is about ready to legalize something they have in France, something they have in Japan. What could it be? They've had it for nearly 2 decades in Europe and Japan. Adaptive headlights. Apparently, the federal motor vehicle safety standards only allow for high and low beam headlights, pointed straight ahead. But we have some pretty cool new technology. Audi built it into one of their, I saw it at CES 2 years ago, that is very cool. The adaptive beams use like projectors, and they can shape the beam. So as you're going around a curve, they can lead you around the curve. They could put a line on the road. They can stay bright but leave a little hole for the oncoming driver so that you don't blind them, but you don't have to turn down your high beams. Ooh, we're catching up. I was very impressed with the e-tron. The e-tron actually projected like the line on the road ahead, kind of, so you could see where you were. It was very cool. It's very cool. Takes a while. Toyota petitioned NHTSA in 2013, 9 years ago. That's when they began according to Ars Technica, laborious and lengthy federal government rulemaking. I guess we don't want to rush into these things, right? So I understand. Volkswagen in 2016 applied for an exemption. 2017, BMW did. NHTSA didn't do nothing except deny it. But now, I think Tuesday, I'll ask Sam. They'll announce. So your next car might have smart headlights instead of the same old dumb ones. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. I want to talk high tech with you and me, together in this. I am your personal tech guy. If you've got a question, a comment, a suggestion, give me a holler. We'll go to the phones right after this. A smooth operator. That's Kim Schaffer, our phone angel. Hello, Kimmy.
Good Sunday to you, sir.
A good Sunday to you, my dear. Here we are again.
Yeah.
Nothing to say about that. Just
I know.
is.
There's
Just
no
is.
big event today that I know of.
No big event.
No.
Tomorrow is President's Day.
Yes.
Do you take that day off?
I take every day off. I'm just a figment of your imagination.
Are you taking today off?
Mentally.
Mentally? Are you not here?
No, I'm here.
So President's Day, which used to be, remember, you're probably not old enough to remember Lincoln's birthday and Washington's birthday being celebrated separately.
I never got these days off. I'm in radio.
No, radio, you work.
I never
Just
got
one more
any
excuse.
days off.
Come into the office.
Yeah.
So it's Washington's birthday. Not really, of course, because, the date moves around.
Right. It wouldn't just be that Monday in February.
Right. That would be strange. That would be strange.
Birthdays float.
It used to be February 22nd on a regular basis. And then in 1971, you may remember the Uniform Monday Holidays Act. Oh, no, you weren't even born. Because we wanted 3-day weekends. They made it 3-day weekends. So your whole life, you've known about, 3-day weekends.
When I was in school,
yeah,
I was aware of a 3-day weekend.
3-day weekends. Now every day is a 3-day weekend.
Well, now every day is a 3-day weekend.
What a life. I'm envying your life.
I'm kidding, kind of.
Kind of.
Well, I thought we'd start you out in case you were groggy.
I am.
You won't be anymore.
Uh-oh.
Look who's
Is it
online.
Mr. Coffee Guy? Is it my favorite coffee achiever? Thank you, Kim.
You're welcome.
How many cups in are you, Chris?
Well, actually, I just spoke to Kim about this. I'm real proud of her today. She's in about 2 cups easy. So you can't go wrong there. 2 cups easy.
Do I count? So I have a cappuccino of a morning. Does that count? It's only a little cup. It's in one of those little demi-tasse, little tiny little cup.
I like those.
I love those.
Yeah.
I could drink those
a day.
Oh, yeah. See, but I find one is enough. And then round about noon, lunchtime, maybe 1, I'll go out and make another cup of. It's disappointing, but we have, it's an office, so we're not going to have.
Sure.
Good cup. Well, actually, we do. We have a nice espresso machine, but it's too much work. So I use the Keurig. I'm embarrassed. I use the pods. Put it in there. Makes a perfectly fine cup of fresh brew. At least it's fresh. It's not. Remember the old days in the office? You'd go and they'd have the Bun coffee maker that'd been sitting there since 4 a.m. and it's all sticking to the bottom. Boy, every radio station I ever worked at, no DJ ever made coffee in their life. It always was the old coffee, right, Kim? Have you remember that?
Yes, gross.
Gross. The old burnt coffee in the bottom.
I prefer the Keurig.
And you're so desperate that you drink it anyway, and you really regret it. But, the Keurig, that's what that solves. That's why we have the Keurig, to solve that. Anyway, what can I do for you, Mr. Chris from Miami?
Chris from Miami. You know what? I got to say, last night, but I'm going to try to move. We're going to move it along here, of course, because we have a lot more callers that are going to be coming inbound. That interview with her last night with
isn't she great?
God.
So I should give that a little plug because that was not on the radio. I have, as some people know, a podcast network as well called Twit at twit.tv. And yesterday we did a one-on-one interview. I used to do those every week. We called the show Triangulation for reasons unknown because there's only 2 of us. But we stopped it because nobody listened to it. I am not Joe Rogan, unfortunately. I don't have his money, his looks, or apparently his brains. So we stopped doing the one-on-one interviews, but I had to do this one because Amy Webb is a good friend. She's a professor of business at NYU's Stern School and what we call a futurist. And she has written a book about synthetic biology, a world we are heading into. It's called the Genesis Machine. And she thinks, and I think she's not alone. Bill Gates used to say this. I remember a lot of people saying this. We had the Industrial Revolution in the 19th century. In the 20th and 21st century, we've had the information revolution with computer technology, digital technology. The next big revolution is imminent, and that's the biotech Revolution, where you'll be able to not just pick the sex of your baby, you'll be able to pick how smart they are, how fast they can run. She says, be careful though. You can't, for instance, you can't pick a 6'5" child. Say, I want a tall child, but I want them to have very petite feet because they'd fall over. Yeah. So that's a good point. She's thinking. See, she's using her noggin. But there are things that are coming that are both terrifying and incredible, but we're not really thinking about it, and it's just going to happen. Just going to happen. Already in China, a physician modified embryos in the embryo before they were born to make them HIV resistant, and the Chinese government pretended to censure him because the whole world community was up in arms and aghast. This was the kind of editing she called germline editing. You heard her talk about that, which isn't just a change to the child, it's a change to their future children. Like, it changes the whole line of DNA. And we can do it. So while it's considered to be not legal globally, the international community has agreed we shouldn't be doing that. You know it's going to happen. So there's all sorts of things coming down the pike. It was fascinating. Thank you for that plug. twit.tv/ I think, what is it, John? News or events? I can never remember. twit.tv/events. And you can watch or listen to that interview with Amy Webb. Her new book, I recommend.
It was that good.
Good. Thank you for giving me a chance to plug that.
You know what? It's absolutely perfect. I mean, I've seen it 3 times already, and I ordered the book.
You watched it 3 times?
It was real. We don't do triangulation anymore.
You drink too much coffee, and it was hard to follow?
No, it was really good, actually. You're very easy to follow and show. Well, I bought the book, $27.93. It'll be here on Feb 21.
Good. I think you're gonna read. It's one of those books that. It's one of those books that really is a page turner. Believe it or not, it's not a dry science book. It's It's gripping and fascinating. And there's a whole section where they imagine a future world. All these different things happening, what it might mean, including Ted Cruz in his 55th year in the Senate, because we will not age anymore. And so this is all I think, very interesting. Anyway, did you have a question? Because we only have 30 seconds left. But thank you for the plug.
Well, you know what? I like to pitch in. I like to support the team.
Thank you.
And I love what we do. So I'm going to send you an email because I'm going to be getting the new Mac Mini because I don't know what model
Good.
goes
You
with
and
it.
I
did get in touch with.
When that comes out, March 8th, let's do a thing on it because I'm also in line. I've been saving my pennies all year because that's the next Mac I want. Chris, always a pleasure. Sorry to have to cut you off. Coming up, Sam Abuelsamid. We talk cars. I'm sorry, Chris. But you know what? I appreciate you took one for the team. You didn't get to your question because you gave me a chance to plug that interview. So
That's what
thank
we do
you.
here at Twit.
That's what we do. You're part of the fam.
That's what we do.
You're in the fam now.
Thank you, sir.
That's the thing, everybody. That's the young people. They call it the fam. Hey, fam.
Fam. My
son does that on his TikTok. I said, dude, I'm your fam. They're not your fam. He said, no, they're all the fam. Okay. What did you want to talk about? You said, I see a Synology in here.
Yeah, well, I did reach out to them. I got a wonderful fellow on the phone. He was 10-star, and I said, I don't know what to do. I said, but I do need to get back to Leo Laporte at Twitter. That's what I do. He's like, he is the boss man. I said, if I have any questions.
He knew who I was?
He knew who you were because he listens.
Oh, that's nice. Hello, Synology guy. That's very nice.
Yeah, hello. I don't know what to get. The he said start simple, get 2 drives. But I said, suppose I want to expand. And I said, this is a little bit beyond me. I said, I'm going to just take some information and throw it back at Leo, and then he'll know what to do.
Synology has an interesting naming scheme. That is very strange. So it starts with the year of the model, right? Mm. So if you get it starts with the number of drives it will support if you add an extension box. So there's the number of bays built in, which I think is should be the number, but no, so for instance, there's the DS220, which came out in 2020 and supports 2 drives. Then there's the 420 and et cetera, et cetera. I have a 1519, which came out in 2019 and does not support 15 drives unless you buy the extender. It has 5 built in. The problem with buying a NAS like that with all of those drive bays is you got to put it in the drives. If you have drives lying around, okay, but it's, the cost of the device is $600 plus 5 drives. So the nice thing about 5 drives or 4 drives is you really get a lot of capacity. If I were you, I would look at the 920 Plus. You want the Plus because those have better CPUs.
Okay.
It depends how much you want to store. Are you putting movies on it or?
No movies, just really photos. We're getting into photo editing, just a lot of photos, backup regular files.
Well, he's right. Two drives would probably be enough. Because that's, nowadays drives are so huge. You're going to get 16 terabyte drives. That means 32 raw, and then you have to save some for redundancy. That means you'll probably have 25. They have a little calculator on here, but 25 terabytes. I don't think you're ever going to take enough pictures to fill that.
Okay.
So because drives are so big now,
yeah,
you can go really big. Now, the advantage of having a 5-bay is that I can have 2 redundant drives, and that's what I do. So 3 drives plus 2 redundant drives. So you get less storage, but you get up to 2 drives can fail simultaneously without losing any data. I like that.
Oh, okay.
I like that. So it depends on how much money, and then you can also add, and I did the little SSD in the bottom that speeds up small file writes. It's a cache.
Okay.
So that's, you can.
So much to learn, I got to.
It's a lot of money. Really, it depends on how much you want to store and how much you want to spend. Hey, I have to run.
I have something to move forward.
It's a pleasure talking to you. So you can get the Mini. See, I think this will be a good combination with the Mini. Because then you can get a cheaper Mini, right? I'm only going to get a 512 gig Mini because I'm going to use external storage and backup on the NAS.
Interesting. Okay, that's really good. Yeah, I'm tired of them. I like the iMacs, but the problem is you can't really move them. If you have to bring them in or whatever, if I have a problem, I can just basically
the Minis, you could practically put it in your pocket, yeah.
Yeah, that's my whole idea. It's to kind of modernize a lot more, but kind of just keep it, slim it down a lot more, but have,
exactly.
Moving forward a little easier.
Exactly.
Okay.
Hey, take care.
Yeah. All right, you too, my friend. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Chris. There he is, his little coffee can steering wheel, driving down the boulevard, bouncing up and down. It's our own lowrider, Sam Abuelsamid. He is a principal researcher at Guidehouse Insights. He also does the Wheel Bearings podcast. You can find it on all the podcast platforms or at their website, wheelbearings.media. Hello, Sam. How you doing?
Hello, Leo. How are you this week?
I am great. We got our car back. Lisa decided to keep the Mini Cooper. Is it
still working?
It's still working. They replaced everything. The battery, it's like getting a new car. And it looks beautiful and it drives fine. The only weird thing, and she kind of wishes they'd looked at this, is the seatbelt light comes on when there's a ghost passenger. There's nobody in the passenger seat. But she can press on the seat and then it goes away. So it's obviously a flaky sensor. But she loves her Mini. She loves her Mini, really. So I'm glad she's decided to keep it. And we'll cross our fingers.
Just less hassle than going through the lemon law stuff.
Exactly. we'll just, if it breaks again, then we do have the lemon law to protect us. But she zips around town. It's so cute. In a little bright red
they
Mini.
are a blast to drive.
Yeah.
I haven't actually driven the current generation Mini Electric yet. Got one of those coming later in March. But I've driven multiple Minis over the years, and they're like little go-karts.
Yeah, especially an electric Mini. I mean, literally.
The funny thing. Think about how small that car is.
Yeah.
Okay. Compared to your Mach-E, it's pretty tiny.
Yeah.
Have you ever parked one of those next to a classic Mini?
They're even smaller.
Enormous compared to the classic Minis.
And now they're going to do a Clubman that's as big as a SUV. So
well, it's not that big. I mean, they've had the Countryman for about almost 10 years now, and it is quite a bit larger, but it's still small by modern standards.
Right.
But the classic Minis, the pre-2000,
the Austin Powers Minis, they're very small.
I mean, those things were just. I don't even know how tall people can get in those.
So this is the nice thing about her Mini, which is a S electric. I fit in it just fine. 6 foot, fine. It's not. I wouldn't want to sit in the back seat, but the front seat's perfectly comfortable. So
yeah, I mean, if you need to carry a couple of extra adults, you definitely want to get the.
We're not going to do that. We'll drive the Mach-E if we're taking adults with us.
Yeah, you got lots of room in that one.
So speaking of adaptive headlights, I see behind you the view from that Audi e-tron.
So this is something, as you were mentioning, I think, adaptive headlights is actually a technology that's been around for a while in Europe and in other markets. And automakers have been trying to get NHTSA, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, to change the headlight regulations for quite a while now, almost a decade, to allow these new, more modern headlamps. And NHTSA is, they take a very deliberate approach to changing safety regulations. It's a very long, slow process, and that frustrates some people like Elon Musk. But it also frustrates traditional automakers when they want to have newer technology like this. I remember back in the 1980s. Up until that time, up until about 1985, in the U.S., we were only allowed to use so-called sealed beam headlights, the classic either rectangular or circular 7-inch circular headlamps. Those things were just terrible. I mean, they didn't put out much light. They had terrible lighting patterns, and they had already had. The flush mount headlights that we're all used to today had been common in Europe for decades before that. And it took until 1985 to get those approved here in the U.S. Now they're changing the rules again to allow for these adaptive headlights. And the thing about these that makes them so different, up until now, even with the latest generation, most modern headlamps that we have today, prior to these adaptive headlights, it's basically amounted to some sort of light source, which could be either a halogen bulb, an LED emitter, or or in some cases even a laser emitter, combined with a reflector and a lens in the front. Pretty straightforward. And you had two beams, low beam and high beam. And you could either switch them manually. A lot of modern cars have automatic switching between high beam and low beam, because when you're using the high beam, cars coming towards you or cars that you're following can easily get blinded by those high beams because they're shining basically right at eye level. It's great for you if you're driving at night, especially in a rural area, because you can see way more, but it's not good for other drivers. So what these adaptive headlights do is they combine, in most cases, some sort of matrix lighting source. So instead of just a single bulb, a single light source, you have multiple light sources. It's usually a matrix, an array of LEDs, or it may actually be again a single LED, but combined with something like a MEMS, like a DLP. If you remember the old projection TVs, the rear projection TVs, they oftentimes used a DLP.
So these are really projectors.
A mirror.
They're going to be projectors.
They are projectors.
Wow.
Yeah. And what it allows you to do is to change the lighting pattern dynamically as you're driving. So, for example, you're driving down a dark road, coming up to a curve. The lights can automatically bend into that curve so you can see actually where the road is. They
kind of go ahead of you as you're turning.
They go ahead of you.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
But they can also when the sensor detects another vehicle coming towards you or you're following another vehicle, it can automatically dim or dip down the pixels, because basically what you're doing now is you're casting an array of pixels instead of just one single pattern of light. So you can dip the pixels that are shining at that vehicle. So
it's still bright everywhere, but there's a little kind of hole where the person is.
Yes, exactly.
Nice.
Or you can also have it be much brighter on certain parts of the road. Oh. So, if you're watching the video stream right now, you can see an example where it's lighting up the lane that we're driving in. And the other thing you might also notice in there is markings where there's some dark patches where what it's actually doing is projecting where your tires are pointed, where your front tires are pointed. So if you were to turn the wheel, you would see you would see the lane lit up more brightly than the surroundings. The lane that you're in lit up more brightly than the surroundings, but you'd also see your tire marks going off in a different direction.
Wow.
So it's
a safety feature too. That's really great.
A lot of extra situational awareness.
Yeah.
And to somebody in Music to My Soul mentioning that headlights bending into the curve. Yeah, we already do have that. It's still it's traditional
mechanical though.
Lighting sources, but it's a mechanical thing that is turning the lamps towards the curve. This is actually changing the dynamic light pattern. You can also do things like when the cameras detect a pedestrian, it can actually put light on light up the pedestrian so you can see the pedestrian better, or an animal.
That's amazing. That's really
so this
interesting.
is the kind of thing that can be a really important safety benefit going forward.
Now, will they be finicky? Or are they going to be hard to maintain? And of course, what's the cost to replace? They're going to be more expensive, right?
There shouldn't be any maintenance required. I mean, and these are all using modern light sources like LEDs,
which
or
last
lasers
longer than incandescent
that
bulbs.
should last the life of the vehicle. Yeah. So that part shouldn't be a problem.
Nice.
The replacement cost, though, if you get in a fender bender, is probably going to be pretty hefty. Although, the current lamps are pretty expensive as well. And Audi is already equipping their vehicles. They already have these matrix lamps on many of their vehicles that are sold here in the U.S. They just don't have them programmed to do the adaptive
So you
control.
Might get it after the fact. You might get them turned on next week.
I talked to Audi this week. They couldn't confirm yet if they are going to update existing vehicles.
Wow.
It's going to depend on how the final regulation is actually worded. So there's a chance that existing Audi owners might get an update that enables this, but certainly new Audis will get this capability.
Sam Abuelsamid, Principal Researcher, Guidehouse Insights. Podcast is Wheel Bearings. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Leo.
I can't wait. My next car will probably have that, right?
Very likely, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to start off on premium models. Because they are going to be more expensive.
But I'm a premium kind of guy, as you know.
Yeah, of course. But as they proliferate through the market, the cost will come down, and you will eventually start to see them in more mainstream vehicles as well.
That's really interesting. Wow. Yeah, I realize I only have 2 years left on my Mach-E lease. It's time to start thinking about the next one, kind of, sort of.
Yeah. But if you order now, you might just be able to get an F-150 Lightning by then.
Yeah, that's a good point. I probably will order in a year, right? Because this is something
I've been telling people a lot recently. With the chip shortages, is if you do anticipate that you're going to need to buy a new vehicle sometime soon,
get in line.
Go ahead and place a factory order from the dealer. The traditional model in the U.S. has been people go into the dealer and they just buy something off the lot and drive away that same day.
Right.
It's generally not been that way in Europe and in other markets. It's usually you order what you want, and then when it comes in, you get the car. But here it's predominantly been buy something out of inventory, buy something out of the dealer's stock, and that is also part of the reason why we have so many white and gray and silver,
because that's what
cars.
The dealers order. That's hysterical.
The least offensive.
Oh,
the dealers
hysterical.
order all those because they figure they can move those faster.
Yeah.
And so, if you anticipate, especially for the remainder of this year, if you anticipate that you're going to need to order a new vehicle, go ahead and do your research, figure out what you want, see if you can get a test drive in one, and then go ahead and place a factory order, because that way you can get exactly what you want with the exact combination of options and color and everything that you want. You don't have to rely on whatever the dealer might have sitting around and in the back of the lot, and you'll also be guaranteed that when that car comes in, it's allotted to you. You're not waiting in line, with everybody else that needs to buy a car now. When that order arrives, it's yours, and hopefully you should also be able to lock in the price as well. Instead of that way you don't have to deal with the dealer markups that a lot of dealers are doing right now because of the low inventories.
Right.
So go ahead and order And it depending on the vehicle, it might take 4 to 6 weeks, or in some cases, for some things like the Lightning that I mentioned, it might take a lot longer. But generally, it's about 4 to 6 weeks from the time you place an order. And what we're seeing is manufacturers now are seeing a lot more customers, much higher percentage of customers are ordering their vehicles. And I think we're going to see that continue even after the chip shortage subsides, because the dealers like it to some degree. The manufacturers like it because they don't have to overbuild stock, and then you don't end up with a lot of excess vehicles on the lot. They don't have to do discounting. It's an advantage for the dealers as well, because the way it works, dealers are actually buying these cars from the factory. They have to finance them until they sell them.
Right.
So they're paying interest on those cars.
Right.
And so I think a lot of dealers would like to have less inventory, so they're not paying interest on those cars. They know that whatever comes in is already sold.
Sam, you want to stick around for the top of the hour?
I will do that.
It's up to you. I'm not going to make you. Then you can talk about the Lightning if you want.
Okay.
Or, I'm sorry, the Hummer.
The Hummer.
Hummer.
Yeah.
Hummer. All right. Thanks, Sam. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888, ask Leo the phone number. Misha's on the line. I'm sorry, Micah. Not Misha. Micah's on the line from Maine. Hello, Micah.
Hi, Leo. It's great to talk to you, and I'm really glad that I got a chance to get in while Sam was still around, because I'd love to get his opinion on this story I want to bring up to you.
He's still here.
Sure. What's up, Micah?
Sam, I know you sometimes listen to the Airplane Geeks, and
every week
we covered a story this week about the suit that's going on against the former Boeing chief pilot about the 737 MAX. And the court dropped 2 charges against him for about falsifying information about parts on the 737 MAX. And they dropped those charges because they said that the legal definition of MCAS, which is the Maneuvering Characteristics Augmentation System, because it's software, it's not a part. So therefore, he didn't falsify anything about information about a part. It was software. Now, if software isn't a part,
what is it?
True legal ramifications in terms of not just aircraft, but self-driving vehicles.
Yeah.
I think the court made a huge mistake on this one. I think software needs to be considered a component of the vehicle. And in fact, previously it has been in legal cases, most notably the Volkswagen Dieselgate case. If you look at all the documentation, the whole case, it talks about Volkswagen Group installing a defeat device, which you think the word device that implies a part, but there was no actual physical component. It was all done in software. So I think as systems, whether it's cars or aircraft become more and more software defined, we have to consider the software to be a part or a component, because it is a component of the system, of the overall system. The system doesn't work without the software. The software doesn't work without the hardware. So if you're falsifying documentation about the software, that is effectively not any different from falsifying documentation about how the brakes work or how the flaps work or the engines or anything else. It absolutely needs to be considered a part. And this, I think the auto industry needs to, as well as other aircraft manufacturers, need to take that lesson from the 737 MAX case, that we need to do a much better job of validating these complex software systems and making sure that the operators, whether it's pilots or drivers, understand how they work and what they can and can't do. Sounds
like the law has to be updated as well to accommodate modern vehicles.
Not necessarily.
The courts could say, but they didn't.
Yeah, I think it's more
that software is a part, but they didn't.
The courts need to interpret it differently.
Yeah, well, you can't do anything about the courts. You have to do it through legislative process.
According to this, Judge Reed O'Connor, I have this right here, wrote that because MCAS is not an aircraft part as defined by Chapter 18 of the U.S. Code, subsection 3-4, blah, 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 the indictment fails to allege that the offense that the defendant fails to allege an offense that the defendant violated.
Right. That means the law has to be updated. If there's that ambiguity, of course, your courts could go either way, but that's the point, is there's ambiguity, and it needs to be very clear that, no, software is a part, and it's going to be more and more the case as we get more self-driving vehicles and more driver assist technology. Software is becoming a bigger part of our cars, right, Sam?
Yeah, and even the vehicle regulations, the ground vehicle regulations, did not specifically call out things like emission control software
because they were written in the 50s, probably.
But the courts, actually did rule,
right.
That yes, this is a defeat device. This is a component of the system. If
there's wiggle room, you need to rewrite it. Yeah. Hey, Mike, a pleasure. Yeah, give us a plug for the podcast.
Well, it's the Airplane Geeks podcast that we record it every Monday night. It comes out every Wednesday night, Wednesday morning. And the last show that we just recorded was with the Portland, Maine Jetport director about the closing down of her runway for coming up for about 6 weeks so they can resurface it. And I know that sounds like it's not very technical, but you'd be surprised how amazing it was. Sam, I don't know if you heard it or not yet.
I haven't listened to it yet. It's in my queue.
Nice. That's the only problem nowadays. There's too many good darn things to listen to. There's not enough hours in the day. Thank you, Mike. It's a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Richard's next on the line from West L.A. Hi, Richard. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. Good to talk again.
Thanks for calling.
I just got a new television, Samsung, and I have two, count them, quote, Soundbars. I don't think they're as good as what your guest, whose name escapes me for the minute.
Scott Wilkinson, our home theater geek.
Yes, I listen to you guys every week. I should
Thank you.
That.
No, that's all right. I forget too. So is this the soundbar that's built into the Samsung?
No, it's external.
It's one you've had all along, or a couple you've had all along.
There are two of them. One is called an SAK dot, big dot, B as in Bravo, S as in Sam. It's fairly, not fairly, it's big, but it's not as big as the other one, which I can't find the name of course. It's a longer one. Here it is. No, the other one is the smaller one. A Z as in Zebra, V as in Victor, OX. AccuVoice TV speaker.
Where'd you get these? Out of curiosity.
Well, it was this truck.
They fell off, huh? No, the SACOBs, that's what they do, is sound bars. I'm not familiar with the ZVOX was advertised in the Los Angeles Times. ZVOX.
And it seemed to be right. I don't need anything perfect, wonderful, the way Scott and you talk about
that's all that really matters is how they sound to you, right?
Right. But do you have any
ZVOX is designed
better?
Yeah, so ZVOX is specifically designed for people who have trouble hearing the dialogue.
Right.
And as we get, there's two things going on. Of course, as we get older, I do it and my mom does it, and we turn up the TV because it's hard to hear. But there is very much so going on in Hollywood an issue with dialogue mixing, and there's a lot of reasons for it. I quoted an article some weeks ago from Slash Film about why this is happening. And there are a number of causes. Actors are mumbling more, believe it or not. Sound recordists are not as valued on the set as they ought to be. And they're not as willing to speak up and say, look, I didn't catch that dialogue. And often directors say, fine, we'll do it in ADR. We'll do it later. We'll dub it over later. There are a lot of reasons. And there's also directors. Chris Nolan is one of them, very famous guy who does the Batman movies, very famous, who doesn't want the dialogue to be as crystal clear as you and I might want it to be. He kind of says, no, it should. And Robert Altman, very famously, director of MASH, Nashville, his movie McCabe and Mrs. Miller kind of set the tale for this. You couldn't understand half of what Warren Beatty was saying, but that was intentional because Altman and Nolan since have both said, "Oh no, that's how real life is." But
well, my problem is often that some live people on television, I'm thinking of a guy in a late afternoon on MSNBC, he says something and then he drops his voice.
Yeah. People have complained about that with me, too. Somebody sent me an email saying,
I have to put the sound way up.
So you might want to use the Zvox because that's what it does. That's the whole point of Zvox is they make soundbars designed to improve the dialogue. Now, any surround system has a center channel, discrete center channel for dialogue that you can turn up, and that's what I do at home. I give it a couple of dB boost, and you can do that in the settings of most receivers, and then I can hear the dialogue better. But if that's an issue for you, the Zvox might be the better choice. Both of them, the SATCOMs is fine. They're actually quite high fidelity. Whichever you like better, and more importantly, whichever satisfies you as far as dialogue, that's what you should go with. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Yeah, I mean, that must be why you bought it, right? The Zvox originally? Oh, he's gone. Never mind. I don't want to talk to you after all. Okay, Sam. That means it's all yours for the rest of the... You got like 10 minutes. I'm going to go get a cup of coffee.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I think Fred S. was asking in the chat about my thoughts about NASCAR's new cars this year, the so-called next-gen cars. So I think that, I'm not particularly a NASCAR fan. I generally don't watch stock car racing. I'm more into sports cars and Indy and Formula One. But I do think that, they've finally made some really good changes to the new NASCAR formula. I think that the cars are definitely way better looking. I thought the last generation of cars were not at all attractive and didn't really look much like the vehicles that they were badged as. They had some very strange proportions. But I think these new cars, they have a longer wheelbase. They're definitely much better looking, and they're much more technologically up to date than prior generations of NASCAR cars. They've gone to a larger wheel, an 18-inch wheel, as actually Formula One is finally doing this year as well, with just a single center lock hub instead of 5 lug nuts as we have on most road cars. They're now fuel injected. They actually have been fuel injected for a little while now, but because they went a long time without updating to modern fuel injection systems from carburetors. I think they have independent rear suspension, if I'm not mistaken, and a bunch of other updates that make them much more contemporary. They should also be safer as well than the prior generations of cars. So I think it's a big improvement. They're at least a lot better to look at than they have been in the past. Also, let's see. Somebody was talking in the store in the chat about vehicle app stores. Tesla wanting to have an app store. This is something that most manufacturers are doing, moving to this idea of having apps in the vehicle. And in fact, Tesla is the only major automaker that is not supporting either Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. But what we are seeing, they do everything themselves. But what they are doing, or what other manufacturers are doing, is they're increasingly adopting Android Automotive as the operating system. So currently, most of the infotainment systems are using either BlackBerry's QNX or Linux as the operating system for the infotainment system, but we're seeing a number of vehicles now coming out with Android Automotive-based systems, which is different from Android Auto. Android Auto is kind of like, you can think of it like a Windows device driver layer, where the apps are actually running on your phone and they're being projected to the screen in the car. The Android Automotive is a full-blown operating system. It's a version of Android that is optimized for use in the vehicle, and as with phones, manufacturers have the option to just use the open source Android Automotive, or they can also get Google Automotive Services, just as on phones, manufacturers have the option to use Google Mobile Services, which is the suite of closed sourced apps from Google, things like the Play Store, Play Services, Google Maps, your contacts, calendar, podcasts, YouTube Music, and have all that on there. And also the Play Store, so you can download other apps. And this is the approach I think most manufacturers are going to be doing going forward. Volvo and Polestar were the first to launch it. GM is launching vehicles now that have Android Automotive. Ford is adopting it next year. Honda is bringing it out next year. In Europe, Renault has it. And Stellantis also has Android Automotive for their Uconnect 5 system, but they are not using Google Automotive Services. They're using TomTom for maps and Alexa for voice services. The others that are using Google Automotive Services, when you get in the vehicle, it's just like having an Android phone in your dash. They all have different user interfaces, just as different Android phones have different UIs. But you can log into your Google account, and then you can access the Play Store and download apps like Pocket Casts or Spotify or various messaging apps, and have those actually running right on the infotainment system rather than running on the phone. So you don't even have to connect your phone to it at all. They do still have support for Apple CarPlay as well. So if you do want to use your iPhone, you can do that as well. See, somebody here in the chat mentioned Evil IRC has an ancient version of regular AOSP on their Honda. Our 2017 Honda has an infotainment system that is actually running. If you dig down into the system settings, you will find Android 4.2 running under there. It's got Honda's own skin on it, their own user interface, but it's Android 4.2. And in fact, you can, and I have just as an experiment installed other Android apps on there, side-loaded them on there. And there's even actually from the factory, it has the ancient Android AOSP browser in there. So if you are near Wi-Fi and connected to Wi-Fi in your garage or something, you can actually open up the old AOSP browser and browse the internet in there. Newer Hondas are now using Android 6, an Android 6-based system, but starting next year, they will be adopting Android Automotive, which is actually supported by Google, whereas the older system was not supported by Google. Let's see. Music to My Soul says Volvo finally announced the replacement for 3G modem and then put the brakes on their solution because I guess it wasn't working right. Yeah, this is going to be a challenge for some automakers. Everybody's trying to come up with solutions to upgrade 3G modems because 3G networks are being turned off over the next few months. In fact, I think this week AT&T is shutting down their 3G network, starting to shut down their 3G networks. And I think I talked a few weeks back or a month or two back about what Audi's doing. Audi is actually partnering with a company called Mojio to develop. They developed an adapter based on Mojio's technology that plugs into the diagnostic port and integrates with the infotainment system in the Audi, so it can get vehicle data. It's got a 4G modem in there, so if you have certain recent Audis, you can go to your Audi dealer and order that. See, Redacted says, can I order a car directly from the company or do I need to go through a dealer? Unfortunately, for the legacy automakers that have dealers, you have to go through the dealers. And this is because of the franchise laws across most states that prohibit the manufacturers from competing directly with their dealers. The dealers, bought and paid for their state legislators and got these laws in place. So you do have to go through a dealer, although increasingly manufacturers have portals. They're creating portals where you can actually do the online ordering. Nissan's got one. Various other companies are doing this. So you can actually go online and place the order, and then at the last stage of the process, and this is the way GM is selling the Hummer as well, at the last stage of the process, you select your local dealer, which is where you'll take delivery, and they'll actually take care of the final transaction. So you're technically buying it through a dealer, but the OEMs, the automakers are providing the portal that lets you do your configuration, order the car, and then decide which dealer you want it to go through. Let's see. Aries says Verizon's the only holdout for another year. I think Verizon's 3G is still the old CDMA network. So.
Got that letter from was it AT&T? T-Mobile, I think.
About 3G?
22222.
Yeah.
Turn it off. Thank you, Sam.
All right, I'll talk to you next week,
Have
Leo.
a good one.
All right, bye-bye.
Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the home theater, digital photography, the internet, virtual reality, augmented reality, real reality, smartphones, smartwatches. 8888. Ask Leo is the phone number. 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Outside that area, you can still reach me, but you're going to have to do, something special to get through. Use Skype out, something like that. The day is nigh. The end is nigh. I should have a little poster, a little sign. The end is nigh for 3G. Maybe you got your letter in the mail. I got mine. They waited to the very last minute. I got one on Friday from AT&T saying your phone's not going to work coming up Tuesday. Tuesday, it's not going to work anymore. I said, what? They're turning off the 3G towers. Now, you may remember in the early days of cell phones, we had a variety of other technologies. Right now, they call it 5G. Before that, it was LTE. Before that, it was 4G. Before that, it was 3G, third generation. Before that, I don't even remember, 2G. First iPhone in 2007 didn't even support that. It supported the old. Now, these were data systems, by the way. And the calling systems have always been, until recently, separated from the data systems. But that's changing. And AT&T on February 22nd, 2 days from now, as I speak, is shutting down their 3G towers. Verizon's going to wait till the end of the year. T-Mobile, maybe this summer. They're a little vague about it. So you'll have to have a phone that supports 4G or LTE. Now, that's for data, but it turns out that the calling also is going to be going through these. So even though you may have a phone that supports LTE or 4G, it may not work if the call signaling doesn't go through the data. So you won't get texts, you won't get data, and you won't get phone calls. So this is a big, big change. You probably have received a letter or an email. I got a letter, like in the mail, from AT&T saying, and they even told me this phone number is not going to work anymore. And it's an old number that isn't really on a phone. It must have been on an old iPhone or something like that. So we are entering the future, and they're disconnecting these old towers. So just a word of warning. It's also, and Sam has mentioned this a couple of times, our car guy, it's also going to affect telematics in a lot of vehicles. And so you should check if you have OnStar, something like that, in your vehicle. You might want to check with your dealer or your manufacturer to see what their plan is. It may just not work anymore. This is what happens in technology, things get obsoleted, and this is the change that's coming. All three major U.S. carriers are going to shut down their cell 3G networks. What happens is, they're running extra towers, extra antennas, but they're also using spectrum that they would like to allocate back to 5G. So, according to AT&T, only 1% of consumers, I'm one of them, have devices that depend on 3G. Maybe it was that old 4S, the iPhone 4S. I don't know. So if you're in that group, you're going to have to look at a new phone. And it doesn't have to be a fancy, brand new, modern phone, but it has to be one that supports 4G or LTE or 5G. Back to the phones we go, using modern technologies. Nancy's on the line from Largo, Florida. Welcome, Nancy.
Hello, how are you doing?
I am well. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good, being tax season, and I'm a bookkeeper.
Oh, are you busy? Busy, like a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs, as they say?
Yeah, you got that right. Well, your QuickBooks decides not to work anymore.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no. So you were using not QBO, QuickBooks Online.
I was using for the Mac.
You were using the software that you install on the Mac. And and what happened? You upgraded your Mac?
Yeah. And that was a big mistake. But what I thought I could do was go on to QuickBooks Online to recover the file or convert to a Windows version, because my sister-in-law has QuickBooks for Windows.
Yeah. Didn't work?
It didn't work.
Didn't work.
No, it tried to convert it, but then when you opened up the file, there's nothing there.
Eesh. So QuickBooks wants Intuit, which makes QuickBooks, wants you to buy a new version every year. You've probably noticed that.
Yeah.
In fact, they now have gone to a subscription model, even for the desktop software.
I know.
$350 a year. So I think probably what happened is you upgraded your Mac to Catalina, which is a couple of versions ago, and you had an old version of QuickBooks. You hadn't been upgrading it. That was 32-bit, is my guess. And as a result, Apple has announced that they're not going to support 32-bit software from Catalina going forward. So as a result, it won't work anymore.
Right.
I just charge each of your customers $1 more and buy the new QuickBooks. I mean, it is a business expense, right? You put it on your Schedule C, am I right? Am I right?
Yeah, but the problem is I don't have that many clients, so...
Yeah.
I'm rebooting my business, so I haven't really...
I see. Everything. Yeah, you're kind of caught in this... I really dislike this. And honestly, QuickBooks doesn't even want to sell you the Mac version. They really want you to go to QBO.
I've noticed that.
Yeah.
I think their newest version is they're pushing, you have to be on the internet to use it, like you were just talking about Microsoft.
Yeah.
You have to be on the internet to be able to use their software.
It stinks. But every software manufacturer is going to this subscription model, because they make more money. And customers this way, if you do the subscription model, this doesn't come up because you always have the newest version. And honestly, I don't know about taxes. I mean, I do know taxes change every year, but I don't know I think double entry accounting probably hasn't changed since 1923. But for some reason, you got to have the new version of the software. So how old was the software you used? Which version?
Okay, that's embarrassing. It was 2016.
Okay. That's not that old. Honestly, we buy things.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sitting, in a chair that should probably work even though it's 6 years old. Right? My coffee mug is probably 10 years old. It still works exactly the same. Software's not quite like that, unfortunately. So I'm not sure, but it may be, this isn't unusual, that you have to find an interim version. Your sister or sister-in-law, her Windows version is probably up to date?
Yes.
Yeah.
She even gave me one of her old computers that has...
Oh, isn't she sweet? That's so nice.
But that was till 2019, and that still didn't work.
Yeah, so it may be, I don't know, but it may be that they are so anxious to have you upgrade every year that the import of data doesn't go back that far. That you need an interim version, like you need the 2017 version and then the 2018 version to slowly step it up. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, she had that on. My sister-in-law had that on her old computer,
and it still didn't work.
17. Yeah, I started with 17, tried it with 18, tried it with 19.
Oh, it should have worked. Okay, so my thesis is wrong.
Right.
Did you use the export or just try to read the data as is?
I tried to do, well, you do it in the export and it says, oh, this is a Mac version. Do you want to make it a Windows version? And that's what it was trying to do. And it goes through the whole process.
But it failed.
Saying it's converted.
Oh, it failed.
And when you open it, there's nothing there.
I hope you have a backup of this data.
Oh, heck yeah, I do.
Because
it doesn't like my backup. It doesn't like.
Yeah, it sounds like I'd be careful. I'd keep a backup that you don't let anything look at the Windows version look at, because it sounds like it's damaging the file.
Yeah.
So somebody just put in the chat room a link to Intuit's support article that says all 64-bit versions should, work with importing the old 16-bit versions. So QuickBooks Desktop 2022 can restore a backup made with a previous version of QuickBooks Desktop 32-bit. That's what you have. It's not a real test until you buy the new QuickBooks and try it. They might have a trial version.
They don't.
They don't. Of course not. That would be too easy, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and their support is so horrible. I mean,
yeah, what are you paying for if you're not getting good support? That is aggravating.
Well, actually, I haven't paid anything since 2016. But
well, you bought it in 2016. That's fine. You paid for something. It was expensive. This is a constant.
They're not paying for something now. They don't want to have anything to do with it.
Yeah, exactly. This is I hear this complaint all the time, especially about QuickBooks. And I just, I think they're really coercing people to keep it up to date. It should be able to read the old data. So I'm worried that your old data has somehow become corrupted. You can't really roll back your Mac, unfortunately. If you could get it.
I did try to do that.
Yeah, you can't. They don't want you to do that either.
Right.
So if you could find somebody with an older Mac, what I want to do is make sure that the data is okay and try to read it on the old QuickBooks on the old Mac and make sure it's okay. And then export it. Did you export it before you tried all this? You couldn't, right? Because it didn't run.
Right.
Yeah.
It wouldn't work.
So that's what I think you need to do is somehow get to the old version and export the data, and then it should be readable. It may just be that it can't be read as it is, that it has to be somehow bundled up for reading. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand. But I don't think I'm good.
And you called them and they don't have any help for you.
Nope.
That's very frustrating.
They're all just pushing you to buy the newest version and saying, oh yeah, you got to do that. And I even signed up for the QuickBooks Online just to see if I could get it to work, and it wouldn't work.
So keep those original files and keep them kind of away from any of this process. You want one copy that you haven't tried to open because it might be damaging it in the process. Just keep it somewhere. It's kind of too bad because QuickBooks is really the we use QuickBooks in our business. My wife is a QuickBooks Online expert because that's how you have to. You have to use it. It doesn't mean you have to like it, but it's what everybody uses. Boy, is this disappointing.
Yeah. I've been using it for probably 15 years.
Yeah.
So, I don't think I will be anymore.
Yeah, and there are other, there's all the names from the good old days are still around, Great Plains and stuff, but boy, oh boy, this is really frustrating.
Yeah, you're telling me.
Will QuickBooks Desktop for Mac 2016 run on Mojave? It will only support 10.14, 10.13. Yeah, it doesn't go up to even Mojave 10.14. You have to have at least QuickBooks for Mac 2020 But that doesn't. I'm just looking at the QuickBooks article on this, but it doesn't help you with the issue of how do I get my data ported over.
Right.
I don't have an answer for you. I'm sorry to say. I only have commiseration. I feel bad for you. This is terrible, and it's not the first time. And honestly, Intuit has really not done a good job of supporting their customers. It's shameful, frankly, because they're so anxious to get you on that subscription plan.
Exactly.
Let me keep digging. Maybe somebody will call. Some way that we can get the data files from QuickBooks 2016 Mac into a more modern version, ideally into Windows, because you've got a Windows machine now.
Right.
All right. We're going to keep listening. We're going to find the answer to this. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. It's very frustrating. It may be that going from Mac to Windows is the problem.
Yeah, well, I used to be able to convert it with no problem before because I went from Windows to Mac.
Oh, you did? So you have done that. Okay, so I'm actually worried your data is damaged. When was the last time you used it?
About a week and a half ago.
Okay.
And I probably went to Monterey about 3 days later.
Yeah, and that's when it stopped working, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So everything was fine when you used it last.
Right. Luckily, I'd already planned on being out of QuickBooks and putting things on spreadsheets. So I'd already had probably 60% of the information on spreadsheets.
Hallelujah. Well, that's better than nothing.
Because I have to go to an accountant to take all this stuff over.
Right, and
I just hand them a little thumb drive with everything on it, and they do their thing.
Nice.
So I'm just doing, my husband's is the worst because he sells antiques and collectibles. So he does these handwritten receipts that have purchases and sales on them. So I have to go in and play around because I have to pay the sales tax first. So I have to do all of that and then purchases. Yeah, I had all of that already in QuickBooks before.
Oh, how frustrating.
So this is my nightmare. Everything else I'm fine with.
So it's that data, you don't want to redo the data entry. Yeah.
Yeah. Which, I'm going to do all throughout the year anyway, like I was doing. I just won't do it in QuickBooks. But
if you could find somebody with a Mac that's pre-Catalina, somebody running Mojave 1014 or earlier, and then you could put your software on it and copy the data over and see if you can open it, then I think you would have the option to export it at that point. And if you export it into a format, that's kind of generic, you at least you've got it.
Right. Well, that's all I was going to do was just pull the reports off of it of certain things.
Right.
And then I was going to be done with it. I
was
going to take it off of my computer because I was just so over it.
Oh, frustrating. You're going to have to look around for somebody. There's got to be somebody in Largo who has an older Mac that they haven't upgraded.
Yeah.
This was Apple warned everybody and said, "Look, we're gonna leave that 32-bit stuff behind, so fix it." But what QuickBooks should have done is told you, very in no uncertain terms, you can't upgrade or some. I mean, they need,
I know. Why would they warn you, though? I mean.
Well, they did, but it probably, they did. Yeah. They warned Intuit, but Intuit said, well, we don't care because they should be using a newer version anyway. See if there's a Mac shop in town that has an older version and maybe they can help. Well, I have another sister-in-law, which of course is her twin sister that I gave a Mac Mini to. Tell her, do not upgrade.
I know, exactly.
Do not upgrade.
She doesn't use QuickBooks. This one doesn't use QuickBooks.
So this is how Intuit says, if you want to go from Mac to Windows, update QuickBooks to the latest release first. And then all that stuff, select reports and all that stuff.
Right.
Boy, this is really ridiculous, this process. This is a terrible process.
Totally agree with you.
Holy cow.
I knew you would feel my pain.
Holy cow. And of course, this is a common process because the people using it on the Mac might be sending to an accountant as you are with Windows. So you've got to do this whole conversion thing.
Right.
And then they modify it, and then they have to send it back to you. Oh, my God.
Right, exactly. They have to convert it.
What a
me, or
nightmare.
an accountant's copy that I can convert it.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
So, yeah.
Terrible, terrible company. I'm going to put some links in the show notes we're getting. There's a company called Saasant, Saasant, which can convert. Maybe they have some software. I do have to run to the next caller. I'm sorry. 8888 Ask Leo's the phone number. Kelly on the line from Palm Springs. Hello, Kelly.
Hey, Leo. How are you?
I'm
Can you
good.
hear me?
I hear you great. What's up?
You are my constant weekend companion. I listen to you all the time. All my chores.
Oh, yay. Thank you, Kelly. That's very nice. Thank you.
Come out in the garden, play in the pool with us.
Oh, man.
I look forward to you every weekend. So.
I was going to retire in Palm Springs, and now I don't have to. I'm just going to be on the radio with Kelly. That's perfect.
So, I just left my dad.
Oh, I'm sorry.
77.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, no, I didn't lose him. I left him. I was visiting them. He had some illnesses, and he has hearing aids that are Bluetooth to his phone, of which he's fought with all weekend. That's a different issue. My concern is that his phone buzzed all weekend long. And I said, Dad, who's calling you? What's going on? And he says to me, he's like, it's the darn text messages. I'm all, what do you mean? And
it's garbage. Yeah, it's all spam.
It is, it's like within me, so I spent a half hour doing the stop, opt out, stop, opt, just manually.
No, that's not going to do any good. That's not going to do any good. Now, it depends on the kind of spam. Is it political spam? Is it pornography? What is the kind of spam he's getting? Or is it just a variety?
It's political spam, and then it's like, please help.
So the opt-outs will work. The opt-outs will work with political spam. I once got a phone number from a guy who had donated to a political campaign, and the phone would not stop buzzing with texts from every other related campaign saying, well, you gave him money, give us money. Those you can't opt out because those are legitimate mailers. If it's spam in the sense that it's illegal stuff, there's nothing you can do to opt out. But you can't opt out of the political stuff. So do that for sure. But if it's promoting a website or a miracle cure or an adult site or whatever, those you might as well just ignore. It's kind of a feature of the modern landscape. You should check his carrier to see what kind of blocking they have. You don't get it because you probably have a better carrier than he does. Hey, hold on just a second. I'm going to talk to you off the air, but because I have to take a break.
Okay.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I think it's getting worse because I get calls every weekend now, and it's often from older folks who are just getting bombarded by this stuff. So you're the same carrier?
Yeah, so he's Verizon. I'm Verizon. He has an iPhone, and this is something that I noticed on his phone. He has the first generation of phones that don't have the dot at the bottom. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I forgot. I made a mental note. I'm driving home from Phoenix. I'm going to call Leo. Nothing else to do, right? And I got halfway to Blythe where there's no service. I'm like, I didn't.
So he has an iPhone, but it doesn't have the fingerprint reader anymore. It's a Face ID. So he's got a fairly modern iPhone.
Correct.
Yeah.
And what I noticed is that, and I'm lucky, I've had the same phone number and carrier for, his phone number is just as long as mine for 25 years.
Wow.
We both have long-standing phone numbers. And what the difficulty is like, because he has these hearing aids Bluetooth in, it's pinging his hearing aids.
Oh, how annoying. Oh, my gosh, is that annoying?
I feel so bad for them.
So the first thing you can do, turn off notifications. So that's the first thing. There's a couple of ways you could do that. You could put it in Do Not Disturb, and it won't bing at all. So, and if he's been keeping his phone up to date now, they've renamed it to Focus. But you could put it into Focus mode, which is Do Not Disturb, and it won't bing at all. You can also, and this might even be easier, go into into settings on the iPhone, and then go down to Messages, and you could say, I don't want notifications, and it'll just stop notifying you. Now, he may say, but I do want notifications. then you should use Do Not Disturb. And whenever he listens to music, just put it in Do Not Disturb and it won't bing him anymore.
So here's something I noticed on his cell phone, and I don't know if his cell phone is, and I'll keep this brief, and I've never noticed it on my text messages, is that when I went into his phone and I was like trying to figure out how to block them and opting out, and just I was so upset on his behalf because it's all day. He has 3 different pages of filters on his text messaging bundle, and he has unknown senders, he has known senders, and then all. And he can filter through the screen. So at least he sees his own. And
he has a more up-to-date iPhone than you do. That's part of the new iOS.
Is it?
Yes. So he's kept his iPhone up to date. Good man. But if you,
so that's why he was like, I don't even care about that. I just said because these doctor's appointments, they text you.
So he does. Yeah, he wants those. Yeah. So he can do all messages, known senders or unknown senders. But he can also, and you can even fine-tune this in the settings, he can also go to messages. One thing he'll want to do is make sure that you can always get through Do Not Disturb. So he should make sure you're in his favorites. But you can go into messages and you really can control this. There's a notification setting. You can turn off notifications. You could say, I only want notifications from family members, that kind of thing. And it takes a little futzing around. But he can. Are you going to go back to Phoenix at some point and do this, or?
Yeah, I'll be back there in like 4 more weeks. So I'll just go into settings and toggle so it's not alerting him all the time.
Right.
But there's no app that I can download, or there's nothing I could do. Maybe I could check with Verizon.
There is. You're in luck. Verizon has a call filter. They have a funny
text messages.
Well, they let's see, call filter for robocalls. Let's see if it does text messaging. I believe they have also text messaging. They call it smishing. I've never heard that.
Okay.
So there is an article at Verizon.com, account security, how to block spam text. By the way, it says don't respond to unwanted suspicious text, not even to say stop. Because, Anyway, I have to run, but I will, at the Tech Guy Lab site, put a link to this Verizon article on what to do.
Is that
TechGuyLabs.com. Thank you, Kelly. I'm glad I go gardening with you. That's the only time I get outside. All right, bye-bye. I always get excited when I hear this music because I know it's time for Chris Marquardt, our photo guy, except not this week. He's visiting his folks. Probably setting up the phone so they don't get unwanted spam messages. This has obviously gotten to be a big problem. Was robocalls last year, right? And then the phone companies, at the behest of the FCC, started to do something about that. Now they're going to have to do something about spam text messages. Verizon has a page. They call it Smishing. I think I've never heard that before. I think they made that up. Smishing is a term, they say, used to describe phishing attempts. Phishing, I know, that's when you get something that purports to be from your bank or, your credit card, but isn't. It's from a bad guy. That's called phishing. Smishing are scams and phishing attempts that use text messages, SMS, as the primary attack platform. Verizon, you made that word up. I don't. Smish, it's a good word, though. I'm going to use it. Smishing is used to gather different types of personal information. Now, this is important. Understand this. They're trying to gather personal information, which may include credit card information. Spam texts, also known as phishing texts, are messages sent by hackers which attempt to get you to click on a link or divulge personal information. Scam types vary, says Verizon, but they'll all attempt to rope you in with lucrative offers or scare you, dangle fake information. I get a lot of them say, we couldn't deliver your package, that kind of thing. Smishing. So if you Google Verizon and smishing, since they invented that word, you'll probably go right to this article. Some common examples of smishing include spam text messages about bank notifications, smishing text messages about package updates, spam text messages about Act Now coupons, and urgent warnings. If you receive any of these from unknown numbers, be suspicious, especially for financial text. You should be suspicious no matter what. Unknown or known number, those numbers are meaningless. Now, unfortunately, here's the here's the part of the article that talks about how to stop this. Blocking spam texts is one of the best ways to prevent future spam texts. Well, duh. We'll be discussing some don't respond to unwanted suspicious texts, not even to say stop. It's very tempting. Maybe they'll listen. No, if they're bad guys, they're not going to listen. In fact, it's worse. If you say stop, they go, oh, we got a live one here. Because they're just doing completely random numbers. It's not like they're calling you. They're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11. That kind of thing. Report spammers to Verizon. There's not enough time in the day to do that. Filter potential spam texts with tools like Call Filter, which is a Verizon tool. And then you can block specific spammers in your My Verizon account. Don't bother unless it's somebody harassing you. Because the spammers, the smishers, if you will, never use the same phone number twice. So you can't block them. But if it is somebody who's like using their phone to bug you, that's what you should use that for. If you're on an iPhone, you can filter unknown messages. That's what her dad was doing, which is good. You do want to make sure that he'd want to make sure that Kelly, his daughter, is in the address book as a known contact so that her messages get through. So what that does, and it's very useful, and I turn that on, is I don't get messages from somebody who's not in my address book. And they go to unknown, which is what I want, that unknown senders tab, and then I never look at it. You kind of want it there, just like you want your spam folder in your email, just so once in a while you could check, make sure you're not missing anything important. On Android phones, tap on Settings, enable spam protection. This is for Verizon customers. So it looks like Android actually has some more choices. But Google smishing. Let me just see if anybody's else. I got to do this. Has anybody else ever used the word smishing? It's in the Oxford Dictionary. Oh, well, I guess they didn't make it up. There's a whole bunch of articles on smishing. I'm not behind the times. I'm behind the times. Little did I know. It's clever. I wonder when it was first used. Oh, it's been around for a while. Here's an article from 2018. What is smishing? From Norton. Hey, Norton. Oh, and there's vishing. Smishing and vishing. Vishing. Now I'm gone down a rabbit hole. What is smishing, vishing, and fishing? Did you think you'd learn about that today? What is vishing? What is smishing? I'm trying to find the what is vishing section. Vishing or voice phishing. Okay. Well, that's what they call and say, hello, I'm calling from Windows. You have a bug on your computer. That's a vishing scam. All right. Vishing, smishing, and phishing. I don't know why I never heard those phrases. That's new to me. Andrew in Winslow, Arizona. Hey, Andrew.
Hey, Leo. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm just calling, trying to help that lady a couple calls ago having the issues with the QuickBooks.
Oh, please. Hallelujah.
Yeah, I actually work for QuickBooks Accountant Care, so I deal with this kind of every day.
Can you give me your number and I'll have her call you?
I wish. I get that all the time.
So you work in customer service for QuickBooks. So you understand the problem. She had QuickBooks 2016, mistakenly upgraded her Mac past Mojave 1014. Suddenly, she can't access the program won't run anymore. She was hoping she could take her data file and just bring it over to a Windows machine, but it's apparently, even though it's churned on it, empty. What's going on?
So my question to her would be, which data file is she trying to take? Her working file or her backup file? Because if she has a QBB file, which is the backup, which is what she says she has, she should be able to take that to any desktop version and be able to do whatever she wants.
So look for the QBB file.
Yeah, the QBB. And you were right. We do have trials available for desktop, I believe going back to 17.
So she should get a trial version that works for Monterey, which is what she upgraded to, which is probably 2022. Install that, and at least she can open that file. Can she print a report out then?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she can print a report. She can export it to wherever she wants, do whatever she wants. She can even take it online.
Andrew, I'm so glad you called.
Yeah, I was freaking out when I heard it. I was like, she can fix this.
Good. Well, that's why we have a phone, and I'm so glad you called. Yep. I'm sorry she didn't get you when she called customer service, because it sounds like you're the good guy, and you could have helped her.
Yeah, I would have her call tomorrow, because we're going to be open tomorrow. I would have her call tomorrow.
Okay.
And try to, get a trial version. I mean, she can Google it too, just QuickBooks Desktop trial.
Yeah.
And it'll pop up for her. But yeah, she should be able to do that.
And in your defense, in Intuit's defense, you really do need to, if you're especially a production machine with stuff that you use for work, you really got to keep it up to date. It sounds like she had stopped working in bookkeeping for a while and was starting up again, and that's why it wasn't up to date. So as you know, it's a security thing, and I mean, she can get it done. It's just she's got to go through the steps to do it. I take back everything I said about QuickBooks. We are happy QuickBooks customers. So, I really appreciate you doing that, Andrew. You went the extra mile. I know you're not on the clock. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm always here for the bookkeepers. They help everybody else.
I agree, especially at tax time.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Hey, I hope you have a great day. Thank you, Andrew. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Leo.
All right.
You too.
It's a girl, my lord, in a flatbed Ford. Looking Oh, I'm sorry. Whenever I hear Winslow, Arizona, that song goes through my head. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More calls right after this. Just a quick note before we get back to the show that our annual survey is on for the next 8 days, but at the end of the month, that's it. Cutting it off. We do this once a year to get to know you better. It helps us do a better job for you. It also helps us with advertising. Go to twit.tv/survey22. Shouldn't take more than a few minutes. I've already heard from a few people who said, because one of the things we say is, what's your primary operating system? And somehow, I don't know how, an error on the factory floor, they left out Linux. So I apologize for those of you who day-to-day are Linux users. I don't know what the answer. I think you have to answer it to go to the next question. So I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. I'm sorry. That was my mistake. I didn't review it before we put it out. I should have. That's the one flaw in there. So go to twit.tv/survey22. Maybe at the end you can write a note saying, I'm a Linux user. Twit.tv/survey22. And by the way, thank you. It really helps us out. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888 Ask. Leo, the phone number, Jeff on the line from Santa Clarita, California, our next caller. Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Leo. I always thought a schmiss was a scar that you got from a bad sword fight.
It's a smish. I got a smish on my cheek. It's very handsome. Yeah, isn't that funny? I'd never heard that word, but I guess it's I don't want to say commonly used, but it is used by some.
One of the new terms.
Yep.
I'm old school, so I don't know these things.
You know fishing, though, right? And things like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I can't believe how much of that is happening. Yeah, I've had so many things. You've been billed $990 for this.
Yes.
Click here if this is incorrect. And yeah. Thank you.
I get that email daily now. Thank you for your order.
Yeah. I've been going through email conundrums of late, and let's see. One of them, GoDaddy recently wrote to me and said, we're changing the way our email works. And about 30 years ago, I signed up with GoDaddy because I was getting tired of changing my email address and informing everybody it's Comcast. No, it's Roadrunner.
Yeah, I actually have recommended that for years. Get a domain. your last name or whatever, LaporteFamily.com, whatever it is, and use that. Then you can just change it easily. Right. Yeah.
And I've been doing that now for almost 30 years, and I've been using Outlook Express, if you remember that, to do my backups, and I can get any of my email going back for 20 years.
The late lamented Outlook Express. Microsoft had a literally had a perfect program, and they killed it.
It's great. I still run it on my Windows 2000 machine. For making backups, and I have it all, categorized.
Wow.
Now they're writing to me saying they're changing their settings, and I'm only going to be able to access through a browser. So I want.
Oh, that's terrible.
So I want to seek a new domain host, and I wondered if you had any suggestions that would still do POP3.
Yeah. Oh, you want POP? You want to stick with POP3?
Yeah, if I can.
That's a little tricky. Okay. Almost everybody's moved to IMAP, and honestly, IMAP is better in every single respect. So POP3, the old post office protocol, really came from an era when mail providers, it was chiefly your internet service provider at the time, didn't want to waste storage on your old mail. So the way POP worked was kind of a store and forward system where they would get the mail, store it for you until you collected it, just like the post office. And once you collected it, they'd erase it on the drive. And that was really for their convenience, not yours. IMAP keeps it on their drive because hard drive space is cheap now. And that has now, because of that, and that's how Gmail works and Outlook Mail works, and a lot of kind of mainstream mail systems now, almost I think everybody uses IMAP. And the reason is we now have multiple ways of accessing mail. You might have a phone, a laptop, a desktop. You might have one at work, one at home. And you want that mail to be the same. If you collect all the mail at home, you won't be able to get it at work. So the IMAP server keeps the mail there. You use, and by the way, all modern email clients will work with this, except Outlook Express probably. But I can't promise you Outlook Express will work. But if you use a modern email client, it will then appear the same everywhere. You can cache it so it's faster. You don't have to re-download it every time. But that's really a better way to do it. And then if you add a folder, it's added everywhere. If you delete a folder, if you move a message, all of that is propagated to every system you use. So I don't. Go ahead.
One thing I don't like about all that is I don't like having all my personal information stored in the cloud somewhere.
I understand that.
Fear of that.
Yeah.
Because I've bought property in New Zealand, and my passport goes through there, and all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess the other question is, how do I make a copy that's on my hard drive so I know I'm never going to lose it? I use IMAP. Is there a way to make a mailbox out of that and store it?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, Outlook will export it as a backup and that kind of thing. Gmail's free, still supports both POP and IMAP. But like most of the people who are supporting POP, they support it as a way to get mail, so you can still use Outlook Express, for instance. But they are keeping a copy on their server. And I don't know of anybody now who deletes the mail on the server. That would just befuddle people. Since you like Outlook, Outlook.com, which is Microsoft's Hotmail, they replaced Hotmail with Outlook.com, also supports POP. Yahoo Mail does. Yeah.
I had a problem with Hotmail last week where they changed their server settings, and I was able to, receive mail but not send it.
Frustrating. So I will tell you, if you're willing to pay for it, I will tell you the best service out there.
Okay.
But it's not free. And
will it still have my domain name?
Yes.
I can move my domain there?
Yes.
Okay.
It's what I use. And I just want to make a plug for paying for your email. Part of the reason, you did at GoDaddy, but part of the reason, email is so disrupted is because they're mostly free services people are using. And free isn't well supported. It's not, you can't count on it, et cetera, et cetera. So I like to pay. Email's important enough to me that I pay for it. And it's not expensive. I don't know what it is, $10 or $30 a year. I don't know, whatever. So the one I use is called Fastmail. It's an Australian company, but they're very good, fastmail.com. They support POP, but like all of these other guys, they're still going to keep a copy on the server unless you explicitly delete it. But they do have, they have very good rules So you can say, I want this mailbox to be emptied every 10 days or 30 days or 90 days or whatever you want. So you can have it automatically erase for security.
Well, I like it when I download it to my client that it erases at that point.
I don't
have a bunch of devices that I'm...
Okay.
I can delete it as well. I can go back and delete it.
They have a POP server. You'll have to see if you can have it delete on download. You know what? If they have a POP server, you probably can. The other thing that they do is they also will do domain hosting. So what I generally do is I have many email domains hosted by Fastmail. I'll move them over to Fastmail for the hosting, and that gives you a lot of the high-end email things for authentication, like DKIM, which validate that you actually are the sender. There's some really nice features. I'm just a big fan of Fastmail. Okay. And they do support POP. Yep. And you can use IMAP, and they have a web interface. I do have, just like you, I don't want to have leo@fastmail.com as my address, because what if I move? So I have all my domains go there. And that's another nice thing. You have unlimited aliases. So, for instance, I have an email address, let's say it's laportefamily.com. I can use every time I sign up for something. If I sign up for Verizon, it's Verizon@laportefamily.com. If I sign up for, Amazon, it's Amazon @ and that's really nice because it helps me filter it all, keep track of it. It's a very good way to do it. I really like Fastmail. Well worth it.
I've been paying GoDaddy all these years, and I've never even built a site there. I use it just for the email domain name.
Yeah, and one of our sponsors, Hover, does that as well. Hover.com, you register the domain name, and they'll set up email for you. And it's fairly inexpensive. They also offer POP, so that's one to look at. I use Fastmail because they have very sophisticated filtering tools that I have elaborate scripts filtering my email.
One other thing with the my Hotmail account.
Hello. Uh-oh. His phone. I bet you his battery died. Or he just accidentally hung up. I think email is worth paying for. I do not think it's a good idea to erase your email. I understand for privacy purposes you might want to, but remember, there's no copy of it anywhere else. Gmail kind of inspired all this by saying, hey, we'll give you so much storage you'll never have to erase it. And I use email as a database. I forgot what I talked about with somebody or with somebody's email address. I can search it. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Demos, they approached me when Comcast bought Tech TV. They brought in a new program director, Vinny Longobardo. I had already left the screensavers, kind of in a contract dispute and blah, blah, blah. So this all went down in 2004. I had taken the radio show back because I had heard that Tech TV was for sale. I was very nervous about the future. So when KFI called me in January 2004 and said, would you like to bring your radio show to KFI? I said yes. So I was now working 7 days a week. So that's why I said, when I went back to the screensavers after a little contract dispute in April, I said, I'm going to stop doing the screensavers. I'll just do call for help. Then when Comcast bought, Vinny called me into his office and said, Leo, we're canceling call for help. And I said, okay, fine. Basically, I got nothing for you. They didn't bring anybody over 25 down to L.A. They really, they had a different vision for the network. And the two most popular shows on the network apparently didn't fit that vision. So, but he was trying to make me feel better. We're canceling your show. I hate to do it. We're canceling your show. By the way, there was then a massive letter writing Twitter campaign, and it wasn't Twitter in those days, but whatever it was. And later he called me in his office and said, can you please get these people to stop bugging me? I said, no. That's nervy. You fire me and then say, please have everybody stop bugging me. But when he fired me, he said, but the Canadian affiliate thinks Call for Help's a great show and they want to keep doing it. So he sent me up to talk to G4 Tech TV Canada, which was independent of Comcast, was just kind of like an affiliate. They were taking the shows, and they were disappointed because Call for Help did well for them. So I went up and talked to them, and they said, would you like to come? It has to be Canadian content. So it has to be produced in Canada with a Canadian staff. And in fact, you're the only American who can work on the show. Otherwise, it's not Canadian content. I said, well, fine. I'll go to Toronto for 4 days a month and tape 15 shows. And that'll be Call for Help Canada. So... Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches, all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number, 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Outside that area, you can still reach us, but you'll have to use Skype or something like that. 8888 Ask Leo. Shouldn't cost you anything. That's the good news, anywhere in the world. And we do get calls. We had a call from Sydney, Australia yesterday. We do get calls from all over the world. Brian's on the line from my old stomping grounds, Lincoln, Rhode Island. We were just talking about the cranberry bogs. Hi, Brian.
Hi. Thanks for taking the call, as always. And you do a great job, and you make it look easy.
Oh, thank you. Well, I've been doing it for a while. It kind of gets, it's like riding a bike. If you had to think about it, you probably couldn't do it. But
well, I've gotten many great recommendations from you.
Thank you.
The least of which is to only buy a new computer with a solid state drive.
Yes,
that's advice I've had in a long time.
Yes, good. So you did it.
So I did. Yeah,
good.
And it's blindingly fast. But the reason I'm calling has to do with another recommendation of yours that was wonderful. In buying a drone, you suggested to buy, as a starting drone, a DJI Mavic Mini.
Oh, yeah.
A year and a half, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I bought it, loved it, and do love it, and flew it for about a year and a half. And in order to control it, I use a Pixel 3a phone. And when it updated to Android 12, the DJI Fly app stopped working.
What?
And it turns out, best I can tell from the web and from DJI, that they stopped supporting a number of Android phones when they went to Android 12. So without that, I can't fly the drone. And the one piece of advice that I found was that apparently it's possible to download the Android 12 app directly from DJI, but not through the Play Store.
Oh, that's it. So you have to sideload it. Yeah, I'm looking on the DJI website. They do support Android 12, but you have to get this beta version from DJI.com. I wonder why that is.
Well, apparently they support a number of the more popular Android phones, but not some of the others.
Which one do you have that it doesn't work with?
I have a Pixel 3a.
So that's interesting. You'd think it would support the Pixels, right? Because those are the Google phones. Those are the ones. Apparently, it doesn't work with the Pixel 6 either, which is really surprising. That's the latest Pixel.
Yeah. Well, it worked beautifully for a year and a half, and I know that it just. I guess my concern was it doesn't seem as if DJI is going to update the app such that I can use it. But if I sideload it, is that safe?
Yeah, as long as you get it from DJI, it is. I'm puzzled, and I'm reading through this thread on the DJI forums. I'm very puzzled that it doesn't work with a Samsung S21 apparently, but they have been updated. Okay, so yeah, I would get it from DJI there and sideload it. You know how to sideload?
I've never done it before.
Yeah, so you'll have to go into settings and turn on a setting that says allow third-party app stores. And then you'll want to do this on the phone. Go to the website on the phone and click the link and download it. You'll download a file that's a .apk file, which you can then tap on it'll open up and install just like you got it anywhere else. That setting will turn itself back off, which is a good thing probably, because you do want to be very thoughtful when you download from anywhere but the Google Play Store. In this case, I think it's safe. It does seem odd that DJI, and I'm not sure what's going on. Remember, DJI is a Chinese company. Google does not do business in China. You can't get those Pixel phones in China, although you could get a Samsung phone. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on. It looks like with a Samsung firmware update, people have got the S21 Ultra to work with the DJI Fly app. So maybe Samsung had to make a change there. Maybe because they can't get the Pixel phones, they haven't developed for the Pixel phones. I'm not sure. It does seem like DJI should do something about that. Remember, they also sell a remote, that you can use with your Mavic, that you don't have to use a phone. And so maybe they're less incented to make a third-party phone system work with it. I don't know.
Would that remote actually work with a Mini? I didn't know.
I don't know why it wouldn't, but I would check.
Okay.
Yeah. They are now offering a new Mavic 3. My son used the Mini for a while. I love it's easy to fly. That's the thing. But what's interesting about this business, the drone business, is they get easier every year. It's really remarkable. So as long as yours is working fine, there's no reason to get a new one. But yeah, they're up to the Mavic 3 now. And
well, the only thing I would say was it's been so much fun to have, and it was a great recommendation. But I'm nearly your age. I've listened to you for many years, and if I had gotten this device when I was a youngster, I would have crashed it a long time ago.
You're more disciplined than I am. As you know, I don't allow myself the pleasure of droning because I've lost far too many, and they're far too expensive to throw away like that. My Mavic went overboard in the Caribbean and sank, and that was that. So,
yeah, I do remember that. So, but apparently, just for other people, it seems almost as if DJI would just prefer that you use an iPhone and be done with it. They seem to support iPhones very well.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
It is difficult. This is a mild defense. There are so many Android phones. It's a lot easier to develop for the iPhone because that's one manufacturer, one line. It's a lot easier with an Android phone. They support it, but it has to work for hundreds, if not thousands, of different models. And a model they can't actually get in China. Maybe that's really the problem. I don't know. Make sure you have the latest firmware on both the phone. I'm sure you do for security reasons, although the 3A is pretty old, and on the Mavic itself.
Okay.
Yeah, and then yes, it's safe to sideload. It absolutely, if you're getting it from DJI directly.
Okay, that's super. That's what I needed to know.
Yeah, it says they support. I'm looking at the chat room has posted a list of all the phones they support, and it does say it's compatible with the Pixel 3 XL, but doesn't mention the 3A, so that's interesting.
Yeah.
3A is basically a 3. I'm not sure. I'm not sure why. It looks like it works with a pretty large number of Android phones, but not all of them, because there are, as I said, thousands. Hey, enjoy your drone. Don't crash it. Stay away from catamarans in the Caribbean. That's all I can say.
Thank you so much.
Have a great one. Enjoy your day in Rhode Island. 8888 Ask Leo. If you've got answers to questions, you can help us out. If you've got your own questions, you can help either way. 8888 Ask Leo. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More calls right after this. I saw that yawn. I'm sorry I'm boring you.
How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, it's the 60th anniversary of John Glenn's flight today.
Oh, well, we got to celebrate that.
Yeah, we got to talk about him because he's
the right stuff, man. He is a steely-eyed missile man.
He is, and that movie kind of mythologized everybody, but Glenn really was that much of an all-American boy.
Yeah.
I mean, when you really read about his life, I wrote a book a couple of years ago, 2019, called Heroes of the Space Age, and his chapter was like number 2, I think.
Oh.
And when you look at this guy, I mean, he bled red, white, and blue. I mean, it's just, it's corny, but it's amazing and really inspiring.
Yeah. Yeah, he was amazing.
And married to the love of his life that he met when he was a toddler.
Aww.
They were married all their lives. Yeah. I admire that. I didn't do it, but I admire it.
Yeah, I admire it from a distance. Yeah. I'm on my 3rd wife now, Rod, so I'm going to hell.
I'll see you there, pal.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, well, we should be careful what we say, or wish for, but it's got to be more fun down there.
All the best people.
What I remember from
we
Sunday
won't meet
school.
any steely-eyed missile men, but, you know.
Are you kidding? All those guys went there.
Yeah, they were pretty
Glenn
bad,
didn't.
come to think of it, except for Glenn.
Yeah, but the rest of them, yeah.
Glenn was the Boy Scout, literally.
You remember the scene about the cookies?
Yes.
Right stuff,
I
right?
totally do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I am a big fan of The Right Stuff. That was one of my favorite movies.
It was fun. I think we talked about it a little bit. You know, I got to say, I loved a lot of things in the movie, but I think my favorite scene of all is when Sam Shepard rides up on the X1, and it's just sitting there kind of burning off some excess fuel in the desert, and there's nobody around.
Yeah.
That kind of spooky sunset scene.
love that.
Was really something.
Give me a stick of Beemans. Love that. Love that.
Hey, Ridley.
Hey, Ridley. And, of course, nobody better than Sam Shepard to play that. Boy, jeez Louise.
Yeah, and, you know, I really wanted to love the Nat Geo series, Nat Geo Disney series they did. And I worked on the nonfiction version of that thing. But the dramatic show, it was different. For what it was, I thought it was good, but it wasn't as much fun as the movie.
I haven't seen it, so yeah. It's not
It
enough.
was done well.
Not enough time in the world to watch all the things I'd like to watch, unfortunately.
Behringer Crater.
In Winslow, Arizona. Have you ever been there? Big meteor crater? Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird because they've got a little, they thought they were going to get a bunch of meteor ore out of it. They didn't realize most of it vaporized and fractured when it hit.
Right.
But there's a little mining station down the bottom. I think it's still there. I haven't been there for a while.
Oh, so they were trying to dig it up. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, they thought, there's going to be all kinds of ore down there. Oh, no, there's not.
What would it be? Just iron, right? What would it be that would be so valuable?
Well, it depends on the meteor, but yeah, it would have been just iron because the other, I think the carbonaceous chondrite types would probably fracture and vaporize. So if it was an iron versus a stony, there'd be iron ore there. But iron's not that hard to find.
Yeah.
So it really was kind of ill-advised in the beginning. No gold, sorry.
Yeah.
How did that come up? Were you talking about it earlier?
We had a caller. It was a long it was a long thing, a rat hole.
Oh, a rabbit hole?
Well, I can't remember the word. It was a long digression. There you go.
There you go.
But it started, a guy called from Winslow, Arizona. And I said, it's a girl, my lord, in a flatbed Ford. And then it turns out, I looked up Winslow, Arizona, and it turns out they have a park called Standing on a Corner, and there's a mural there. But also then somebody said, well, you've been to the crater, right? And I said, I never. What crater? They said, how come
you
you've never
haven't gone?
Well, I am from the East Coast. We don't go to Arizona.
Yeah, that's well. You don't go just to look. At
I've been to the Plymouth
Grand
Rock
Canyon,
and the Cranberry Bogs. I've seen the Statue of Liberty at night. I mean, no, I haven't seen the big hole in the ground where the rock hit. All right, here we go. I'll talk to you in about 15.
Okay.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. Everybody's favorite comedian, Arizona Lou, on the line. Hi, Arizona Lou.
Hey, howdy. I climbed down that hole when they were still allowing it. Meteor crater.
You've been in Behringer Crater down into it, huh? How deep does it go?
About that far.
Yeah, we were because we had a caller from Winslow, Arizona. And then the chat room saying, well, you've been to Behringer Crater. I said, well, no. But see, I'm not from around here. So,
That's meteor. Yeah. How about that?
Yeah. So what's up in Arizona Lou's life here?
Well, if Rod is still around, I have a quick question. Then I have a question about email that's about to make me crazy.
Well, Rod happens to be here. He's getting ready for his segment a little later on. He's in the capsule rotating around Mars. What is that Mars out your window there, Rod? It
That's
looks like
Mars,
it. The red planet. Yeah. I don't think we call it rotating. I think in space talk it's orbiting, but you'll get the idea. So what do you want to know from Rod?
Well, do you recommend on my next comedy tour, I'm going to be driving a minivan. Don't believe what you hear about the old guy in a minivan. Anyway,
do you have free candy written on the side? Because
I knew you were going to go there.
I don't have candy.
All right, okay.
Hey, kids.
On my way between home here in Phoenix and doing the comedy in El Paso, I can stop by Spaceport America. Have you ever been there? Do you recommend stopping by there? This is Rick Bronson's thing.
I haven't been there. You're not talking about the facility down by Johnson Space Center, are you?
No, I'm talking about, it's not between Phoenix and El Paso, Texas. It's near Truth or Consequences, New Mexico.
Spaceport America, yes.
Formerly the Southwest Regional Spaceport.
Yeah. So, a couple of years ago, I wouldn't have given it a strong thumbs up, but now that Virgin Galactic's operating out of there, there's more to see. But you have to have an organized tour, so I would call ahead to make sure you can get the tour, because you can't just stroll around. You gotta sign up.
You should also there's a Spaceport America podcast now, so you can get ready before you go, and that's where the Thunderbirds train. So you might see some Thunderbirds, which is always exciting.
But Virgin's got all their stuff down there. That's where they're flying out of now. So that would be worth seeing. And the architecture is really cool. It's one of those, they inflate a big mushroom shaped balloon and then spray concrete over it, and so it's a very cool looking place.
Oh my!
What I understand.
But launch is not open to the public at this point. You have to arrange a tour ahead of time.
Yeah,
because it's an act. It says this on the website. It's an active test facility. You don't want to just wander in there.
You don't want people messing around.
No. And
then between El Paso, Texas, and Dallas, I can stop by Blue Origin. They're near Van Horn, Texas.
Is that's Boca Chica?
No, that's Van Horn. So that's where
Bezos.
Yeah, that's where the New Shepard launches out of. Yeah. I would definitely call ahead there, because I don't think unless you're a member of the press, I'm not sure you can get a tour of that facility. And there's not much there. It's not like SpaceX's operation. It's kind of a lonely launch pad with a bunch of stairs up to a gantry and a couple of buildings. So they do have a test and manufacture facility there, I think.
But look for a guy in a big cowboy hat. You might get lucky. You never know. With a bottle of champagne just ready.
Well, I can say I've been there.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you, Arizona Lou. You're driving there. You got a van. Drive by anyway, wave, take a picture.
Take a look.
Yeah.
I think that sounds like fun. I mean, how often you can get to Van Horn, Texas? Let's be honest.
In a van.
Yeah, in a van. Van
is
Horn.
Important, apparently. Yeah.
Now, what was your email? Thank you, Rob. We'll talk to Rod more about space. It's a big anniversary today, actually. We'll talk to him in just a bit. But what was your email question, Lou?
Well, I'm not sure where email resides.
It lives in the ether like all of us. It resides in two places. The company providing the email has a copy of it, so it floats through the the internet until it gets to. Often, by the way, email passes through a variety of servers on the way to you. So you send an email, and it goes out. It goes through a variety of servers, just like your browsing does as you search for a website. And eventually gets to the server that hosts your email. It sits there on their hard drive. When you use your email program, we were talking about this earlier when we were talking about POP3. In the old days, when hard drive space was expensive, they'd expect you to download your mail and then they'd delete it. But nowadays, they keep it with most email servers. And you have a cached copy on your hard drive. When
I went from GoDaddy, from my web host, to HostGator, did my email location move?
It did not. Your old mail received at GoDaddy stayed at GoDaddy. It did not move over unless you explicitly said, get my old email. And there are often ways to do that. For instance, if you move off Gmail, you can have Gmail send your email to your new provider. But unless you explicitly do that, no, the email that you received at GoDaddy stays at GoDaddy. Eventually, they delete it.
And then since I changed to HostGator, is my email now being...
It's living at HostGator. That's right. It's living. Even if you had a domain name registered at GoDaddy, the host is where the email lives. So, you probably still do have an email domain from GoDaddy, but that's just really a phone book directory that says, when email arrives at this address, forward it on to that server. In fact, I don't think even it goes through GoDaddy anymore. It doesn't even go through GoDaddy. Yeah.
The question of the day is, I'm trying to get, I created a new email address at HostGator, and I want to get it forwarded to GoDaddy. And
that's called crossing the streams, and it's very dangerous. No, I'm just kidding. So why? So you want to create? You want a domain name from HostGator, but why? But you don't get email at GoDaddy anymore. I thought.
No, I do all my email through Gmail.
Ah.
So I went to Gmail and said to their section that says mail forwarding and stuff.
Yes. So that just sends it along. It's almost as if you manually forwarded it and said, send it to this server too. So they keep a copy and then they forward it off to somebody else. Sometimes it bounces off. Depends how you set it up.
I want everything to show up with just one email account. Go to Gmail, and I see everything.
Okay. So that's what you do. You'll set up the GoDaddy account and the HostGator account to forward to Gmail, and then that way it's all in your Gmail inbox. What's nice about that is that the sending email address will not change. So you can actually even filter it. You could have a box that says, this is the email that was sent to my address at GoDaddy, this is email that was sent to my address at HostGator, and this was sent to me at Gmail. And you can actually have different mailboxes for all three. That's just a filter, though.
Yeah, I'm looking at the screen that says, add another email address you own.
There you go.
The SMTP server.
That's the outbound server address. So you'll have to ask GoDaddy or HostGator. They'll have a page where it'll describe all their different servers. And that's where that information lives. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. So does that make sense? Let me look at Gmail. I don't remember how you...
Sort of. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it has username.
Yeah, because you can't just say... SMTP is used for outbound, so I'm not sure why they want the SMTP. That would be if you were going to send the mail from HostGator or GoDaddy. Normally you'd send... Oh, you do want that?
I want any email that arrives. This is info@arizonalou.com.
Right.
I didn't want to say it while you're on the air. So I assume that the SMTP server means GoDaddy.
Yeah, because Gmail knows its own SMTP server. That's the outbound mail server. And obviously Gmail doesn't need to ask you about that. It knows. So is this under forwarding, the forwarding thing, add a forwarding address?
No, I think it is.
Let me just check here. Yeah. So, yeah, in order to access those outbound servers, nowadays, most SMTP servers are locked down because they don't want spammers to use them, right? So in order to use it, you have to authenticate with your password and log in. And then it'll go, oh, Arizona Lou has an account with us. It's okay. He can use our SMTP server.
Now, the password is my...
GoDaddy.
Password.
It's, whatever the other company is. Yes. Not your Google password. It's so you can authenticate with the outbound mail server. So wherever that outbound mail server is, it would be your login and password for that company.
Everything I've tried, I've gotten authentication failed. Please check your username password.
Okay. So you got to. So
what the username I have is.
You don't have to tell me. That's not. I don't need to. I need it. Okay. I don't need to know it. Except is it at HostGator?
That's the email I have, but I've tried several things there, so I'm not.
Okay, so you'll need to. Do you have two-factor authentication turned on with either of these?
Don't think so, but I never get a screen asking me.
Well, that's the thing. If you have two-factor turned on, you usually can't just use your password because it wouldn't have a way of doing the second authentication.
Mm-hmm.
So in those cases, you have to make a custom password, what they call an application-specific password. So briefly, you're on Gmail, but you want the outbound mail to go through HostGator. Is that correct?
No, I when I send mail, I just want it to go either from my Gmail or my @ArizonaLou email.
Oh, you want it to... Okay, so that's different. You want Gmail to send it. You want to use a personality, in effect, that says you want everything to have the Arizona Lou email address on it, outbound address on it, right? That's the issue.
With the option of doing the Gmail, either one.
Okay. So that you can set up with Gmail as an alias. So that's very common. So, for instance, I have leo@leoville.com. I don't want mail coming out from Gmail to be Laporte@gmail.com. That's my Gmail address. I want it to be leo@leoville.com. That's a setting. You don't need to do anything about logging into the HostGator or the GoDaddy server. As long as you own those domain names, it doesn't matter. All you have to do is tell it, when I send mail out from this account, make the return address. It's under accounts and import, send mail as, okay? And then you can see you can add another email address. It has to be one you own, obviously. And then you can put in Arizona Lou at whatever you want to use and make that be the default alias for all the outbound email if you want.
Now, if I might be related, sorry this is taking so long, might be related if I do from my Gmail compose, then I have a pop down.
That's why you have a pop down. That's what that's for. Yep.
But I see everything I want except the info.
Yeah, well, you have to add it, and that's in the accounts and import section, send mail as. I think it's going to be a very short time before Rod Pyle's here, spaceman extraordinaire, the author of First on the Moon, all about Neil Armstrong's Space 2.0. He's the editor-in-chief of the National Space Society magazine, Ad Astra, at space.nss.org, and he is our own space guy, host of This Week in Space, coming soon to a podcast client near you. Great to see you. Hi, Rod.
Well done. Great to see you. Did
I get all the plugs in?
I think so, yeah. I don't think you missed a thing.
You and Tarek Malik do that. He's with from space.com. Basically, it's the long version of what you do every week on this show. And I love it. And we're doing, we're beta testing it right now in private so that you guys can kind of spread your wings without a lot of people staring at you. And then I think in the next couple of episodes, we're going to release it, and all the old ones will be available too, unless they're terrible. Unless you say no. But they're not.
No, I think we Tarek and I have known each other for, 10 or 12 years now, and he's the executive editor over at space.com. So what I have to do every quarter, he has to do.
You're friendly rivals. Is that it?
Yeah, well, not really, because he's got to do it 24 hours a day. I only
that's
do it
right.
every quarter.
Yeah, he's got a whole website. Yeah.
Oh, my God. The guy is he's a monster.
We love space.com. I mean, it's
funny,
really
and
great.
He's a sweet guy. It's, it's good for everybody. I mean, there's something for everybody there. So I really love what he does. So,
nice.
Yeah, we've had a lot of fun.
Big anniversary today. I am excited.
Yeah. 60 years ago today, John Glenn flew 3 orbits. And this was the American response to Yuri Gagarin in the Soviet Union, who had flown 1 orbit, almost, not quite, 10 months prior. And the U.S. had flown in the interim 2 suborbital flights of about 15 minutes. But we were really quite embarrassed by the Soviet success of that first human space flight. And so Glenn was charged with kind of reclaiming American valor. And you couldn't have picked a better guy. As we discussed before, if you ever saw the original The Right Stuff movie or read the book The Right Stuff by Tom Wolfe, That was John Glenn.
He had the right stuff. He was
had the right stuff.
in every respect a naval aviator. He had iron, nerves, but at the same time was a human. His wife, is it Annie? I think it was Annie, right?
Annie Glenn.
Annie Glenn, his childhood sweetheart. Of course, eventually, toddlerhood sweetheart.
Yeah, I mean that's really a childhood sweetheart.
Long time. And of course, he eventually became a senator, much respected senator from Ohio. Really an amazing. I never met him. Did you ever meet John Glenn?
I didn't, no, but he also, it's important to remember, flew again on the space shuttle in 1998.
He was like in his 80s, right?
He was 77.
70s? Okay.
But he held the record as the oldest flyer until Wally Funk went up in New Shepard. But the thing about Glenn, a lot of test pilots, a lot of astronauts had the right stuff, quote unquote. But Glenn also had tremendous humility. He was a World War II flyer in the Pacific. Almost lost his life there a couple of times. His plane was shot up very badly. He flew in North China after the end of World War II. Then he flew in Korea during the Korean War. Almost didn't get accepted as an astronaut because he had enough credits for a master's degree, but he had never gotten his bachelor's.
Ugh.
So he's this close to not getting that flight. And when he flew in 1963, it was very touch and go. The Atlas rocket, so this was the first time we had flown a human on the Atlas rocket because it was a nuclear bomb carrier. It was an ICBM. Had about a 50% success rate when he went up. And the tank sides were so thin that if it wasn't fueled, it would collapse under its own weight. So there are a lot of downsides. You put that much thrust under something that's as thin as a bunch of wet shopping bags, and it's concerning. But he had the courage, got up there, was in orbits. He was going to go for 8 orbits, but they cut it short because he had erratic thruster firing. The automatic attitude control system was having problems. But more importantly, as you remember from The Right Stuff, they had gotten indication on the ground that his heat shield had come loose because it was designed to detach just before splashdown to cushion the landing. Not the best idea for design. And they were concerned the heat shield was loose, and when he re-entered that he'd burn up. So even though there's nothing they could do about it, they wanted to bring him back early. Big kerfuffle there because they didn't tell him what was going on until finally one of the other astronauts got on the microphone and said, look, here's what's happening. Turned out the doctors were afraid to tell him because they thought, man in space might panic because he's in space.
Not John Glenn,
Not John Glenn, man.
He's a steely-eyed missile man. You can't rattle him.
But, so while all this is going on, at the same time, his lifestyle, he's a devoted husband, father of, I think, 3 kids. All the other astronauts are, as you know, kind of, moving beyond their marriages a bit here and
Wild
there.
men.
Those times.
Wild
He
men.
wasn't. They're driving Corvettes and Austin Healey sports cars, and he's driving a 600cc NSU Prinz. So ask Sam about that next time. It was a pathetic little 35 horsepower car. He never showed off. I mean, he was just, and he was like the ultimate patriot. He bled red, white, and blue. Just an amazing guy.
He's really our model. When I think of astronaut in my head, John Glenn's the model for that. Neil Armstrong, too, who very much followed in the same vein.
He really did.
Of these quiet, humble, but very brilliant, steely explorers, the kind of people you kind of want to be pushing the envelope for mankind. He's just we should, and that's why I always got a little annoyed when Jeff Bezos called his flight and said he's an astronaut. That's not an astronaut. Right. John Glenn, that's an astronaut.
And I mean, just to add a little more color to his profile, besides football and basketball in high school, he was in the Glee Club. Because that's where Annie was. He wanted to be close to Annie.
Yeah. That I did not know. That's hysterical.
And in terms of his scientific curiosity, when they do, how they had to do their survival training in the desert to be an astronaut.
Yeah.
And he had been in the Marines, so it wasn't a stranger to difficulty. But he went to the doctor and said, I'm really fascinated by dehydration. How about I don't drink any water for the first 24 hours?
Just to see what happens.
The doctor said, I said, are you crazy? And he said, no, I just want to see what. So he did that and almost killed himself. So that was a learning experience. But that's just how he was. And he was going to major in chemistry originally. But as a kid, got interested in flying, and it's the typical story of he got involved with the local flight club while he was in college and so on, and just couldn't get out of his blood. So
nice,
there he was.
Nice.
Yeah. What a
How
person.
long was that first? You said how many orbits? 3 orbits.
3 orbits, about 5 hours.
That's all.
Which is short, but if you've ever looked at a Mercury capsule, that's a long 5 hours.
They're very. I have. They have one at the Udar Hazy Center, don't they?
Hazy, yeah.
Yeah. At this part of the
And
Smithsonian.
your knees are under the console, and then
tiny.
the actual instrument panel's maybe, 18 inches from your face.
It's if you get a chance
little tiny window
to go out to D.C., and you get to go to, by the way, the Udar Hazy is amazing, but look at it. It is mind-boggling because I remember seeing it and thinking, that's how big it is? It's no wonder they said we don't want to be spam in a can. They were, but they at least got to fly a little bit. And that's
and the first 2 flights didn't have a window. Can you imagine?
Wow.
I mean, I get claustrophobia anyway, but can you? They had a little periscope that you could peer through, but can you imagine being closed in that thing for hours and hours and hours with no window?
Truly amazing. One of the greats. 60 years, and it's hard to believe it wasn't that long ago. It was only 60 years ago. The first American to orbit the planet, and a great man to boot, John Glenn.
And the first American in space in longer weightlessness, more than 15 minutes, at a time when we were still afraid that, human beings, that they might suffer separation anxiety from Earth and go insane in orbit, or they wouldn't be able to swallow, or their hearts would stop beating. I mean, we were terrified. So it was really
we didn't know. We just didn't really know. Yeah. Thank you for that commemoration. It was great. Rod Pyle.
Thank you so much.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. So the Friendship 7's at the National Air and Space Museum. Stands corrected.
Okay.
I thought it was at the Udar Hazy.
But I thought they had another Mercury capsule at the Udar Hazy.
Oh, they do. Wait a minute. They do. No, it is at the Udar Hazy. Somebody's correcting me. Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It's a Boeing aviation hangar at the Udar Hazy Center, Chantilly. And that's the one he was in, Friendship 7.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. Sorry. Now I'm confused because now it says it has been exhibited in buildings on the National Mall ever since. So I'm
well,
confused.
they may have moved it around a bit.
Maybe
I know
they have, yeah.
I know Grissom's capsule is at the
it says
Kansas
now
Cosmos.
it's now at the Udar Hazy.
Udar Hazy,
So,
okay.
but this is
and I haven't actually been out there yet. I'm going to DC.
You haven't seen it?
I've seen other ones, but I haven't been to the Udar Hazy.
We
so
did
I'm
a
gonna go out there
show
in May.
from we did a Tech TV did a show from there.
Oh, really?
Oh my God! It's they've got a Black Hawk in there. They've got they've got a Boeing airliner in there. It's huge.
Got an SR-71.
Yeah.
They got, I think. Oh, that's where Enola Gay is too, right?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's all indoors. It's these big hangars because it's out by the airport.
Yeah,
really.
And I've been to National Air and Space Museum a few times, but the last 2 times I was there, I did a talk out there about 2 years ago, and 2/3 of it's closed because they're remodeling, and they've been remodeling forever. So you go in there, and I remember it being large, and I'm in this one room looking around thinking, this isn't this museum. Oh, I see. The rest of it was closed off.
Yeah.
And it still will be, I guess, when I'm there in May, but oh well.
The Udar Hazy website has some very good pictures of the Friendship 7, so you get a sense of how historic, just unbelievable.
Well, and supposedly the selection of the astronauts, Deke Slayton always maintained, it's just a rotation and there's no favoritism and all that. But you had to know.
No.
Glenn,
No.
I mean, it's funny because Glenn was kind of the underdog in that first group of 7 only because he was so puritanical and did tend to shake his finger in people's noses a bit. But what a perfect choice. I mean, Shepard was the perfect choice for the first flight, and Glenn was the perfect choice
Huge
for the first
respect
orbital
for
flight.
all of them.
Absolutely.
These guys had the right stuff. They really
Look
did.
at that thing, 3,000 pounds.
Incredible.
Hardly weighed anything.
Yeah, this is smaller than a Hummer battery. And,
yeah, I think you're right.
I know.
And pretty primitive.
Yeah.
Pretty primitive.
Look at it. That's an antenna.
All those hand-brazed welds and everything.
Yeah, this is the UHF rescue antenna.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Look at that.
It's just, and the thing is, it all worked. You know, there are problems here and there, but especially in these early flights of Mercury and Gemini, everything worked, and we had no idea what we were doing.
It's incredible. Yeah, it was, I think, far riskier than we really knew at the time, you know.
Yeah, they were a little short on facts.
Yeah.
On the public relations side sometimes.
Yeah, really cool.
Look at that.
Look at there's
those
the
wiring, all those analog gauges, the electromechanical age, Leo.
Oh, my God.
Can't we do this for another 40 minutes?
Oh, I could easily. Thank you, Rod. I really
Thank you.
appreciate it. Nice.
Take care.
Yeah, go out to the Udar Hazy and
I will.
It's out by Dulles. It's mind blowing, just incredible.
Yeah, I'll be in Arlington.
The shuttles
in May,
out there.
So I'll make a trip out there.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
All right, sir. Take care. Yeah. Well, Shackleton's pretty amazing. Yeah, I'm not going to deny that. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, thank you for letting me be your tech guy today. Thanks to Professor Laura, our musical director. Great job again, Laura, as always. You missed one cue. We could have played the Eagles, Winslow, Arizona. Just one little cue you missed, but that's okay. That's okay. We can do it next week. Thanks to Kim Schaffer, our phone angel, for answering the phones. Thanks most of all, of course, to those of you who listen to the show. I really appreciate it. And everybody who calls. If it weren't for you, I'd be working at a Target, I think. I don't know what I'd be doing. I don't. Liz is on the line from San Jose, California. Hi, Liz.
Hi. My QuickBooks runs really slow. And I've called QuickBooks several times to troubleshoot, and they recommended cleaning cookies out, which we did. And I do my own bookkeeping, and then I have an accountant, but I do the real basic stuff.
Yeah.
So, in other words, so I started using Incognito, which they recommended. So apparently they get a lot of calls about this because they're recommending that the users log in using Incognito.
That's
so
weird. That's really strange. So this is QuickBooks Online, obviously.
Yes, it's QuickBooks Online.
And so your computer itself is not slow. It runs fine?
It runs fine. I'm a block from the fiber optic hub in downtown San Jose.
Oh, so you're on fiber. You're on a very high-speed connection.
Exactly. And then I had my tech person come in and check, do the cookie clean out. He installed some kind of a cookie cleaner on my computer.
I have no idea why QuickBooks thinks this is a relevant issue. Cookies should not affect the speed of your browser. Maybe they have a problem of some kind that I don't know about. It's too bad. I don't know if you heard, but we had a guy from QuickBooks customer service call. And if he's still listening, but I don't know why cookies would have anything to do with this. Do any other sites run slow?
I mean, no.
No, everything's snappy. And you're using Chrome.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I'm using Chrome and then logging in now with Incognito, like they said. Now, once I even let one of their agents take access of my computer, and she went in and checked all the cookies, and it was all, she seemed to think it was...
Cookies have nothing to do with speed unless they know something I don't know. I don't understand why they're so obsessed with this. Cookies are just small bits of data stored on your computer, things like what page you're on or what your password is and all that. Now, I am I mean, obviously they know something I don't know. Try clearing not the cookies but the cache.
I think she did both when she had logged into my computer. We did both.
So another thing then would be to completely uninstall Chrome. This is going to be a little bit of a pain because you're going to have to reinstall the extensions and so forth. You'll have to re-log in. But the idea, cookies should not have anything to do with it. Cache very well could. Cache is a portion of the hard drive put aside to save time by preloading images and things like that. And a corrupted cache could absolutely slow down any website. So that might also be part of the problem. And I'm glad she cleared it. But if clearing the cookies and the cat. It's weird that they say go in incognito mode. I have never heard any website say that.
I just called the other day, and they told me again to only log in with incognito. and so if I'm
this is something probably wrong with their software. Because that doesn't make any sense. There's no website should be impacted by cookies one way or the other. I think you might try using Edge instead. They will work with other browsers. You are in Windows, I presume, yeah?
Yes.
Edge is Microsoft's browser, and that's basically based on Chrome, so it has the same capabilities. And I would try, I know QuickBooks recommends Chrome, but I would try Edge. Edge is a very nice browser on Windows. Microsoft's really put some effort into making it fast. So I would try Edge. I know they recommend Chrome for QBO. My wife uses Chrome for QBO, but it will work with Edge. And Edge, for one thing, none of those cookies from Chrome go over to Edge. So the very quick way just to see if Chrome is the problem or cookies is a problem or cache is a problem is to use Edge, because none of those cookies will be there.
I've used Firefox, and I have used other browsers, and the same thing happens. So I have to log out during a QuickBooks session. I probably am on QuickBooks about an hour a day. I have to probably log out 10 times and log back in to get into some of the...
That just sounds like terrible software. That just sounds like terrible software. They, in fact, do recommend, I can see, that you use incognito, which to me makes no sense whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't work. The worst part,
and it doesn't solve it.
Incognito isn't any better.
Try Edge.
Maybe he'll call back.
Try Edge, and maybe he'll call back. Yeah. This. I hope this doesn't become the show where you call getting QuickBooks support instead of calling QuickBooks. But I can kind of understand how frustrating. I mean, our whole business is run on QuickBooks. This is not something, this is not, I can't read the New York Times. This is important. I'm baffled that they require incognito mode. I don't understand that. Try Edge. If anything, Edge is going to work better. It'll be a completely fresh version of the cookies, a completely fresh. If anything is slow is really there on their side, in my opinion. That's really what's slow. Their software is slow. It's not responsive. In fact, it says QuickBooks online should load in 10 seconds. I have to tell you. If a website takes 10 seconds to load, I'm gone. So Intuit needs to work on that. That's a problem on their side, I think. Tom, Arvada, Colorado, last call of the day. Hi, Tom.
Hi, Leo. Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for calling.
Sure. I'll tell you, this is not so much online banking as how best to receive my bills.
Who wants to get paper bills anymore, right?
Well, I do because I'm kind of I'm afraid I'll lose it in my normal email. That will get buried in there, and I'll do delete.
For years, I used, and they're still around, although I don't know if I'd recommend them anymore. I used a company called PayTrust, and paytrust.com, and I would have all my bills sent to them in Sioux City, South Dakota. And they would have, I believe, it was my understanding, they would have federal prisoners enter the data. I think now they probably scan it. But it's electronic, so the bills don't go to you. They go to, and they're stored, and so you have a digital copy of the bill. And you can pay your bills. They'll pay them automatically, or you could set it up. I used it for years. I don't do it anymore because most companies now, I have auto pay. I don't even, if I had to pay bills, my lights would be out by now because I'm just bad at that. So you could also get a scanner that would help. If you got paper bills, scan them.
How about setting up a separate email account solely to receive my bill.
Another way to do it. Another way to do it. That's a good idea. In fact, many email providers will let you create alias accounts. You could do it with Gmail, for instance, if you use the plus sign, and you can have it filter automatically. So you can have, Leo plus bills at Laporte.com, and the plus sign is ignored. Anything after the plus sign is ignored, but it becomes like a unique account. So that's another way. Talk to your email provider about creating an alias. You don't even have to have a whole new address. Actually, what I do is I set up a bill with the company's name at Laporte.com. That saves a lot of time. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I'm sorry, we kind of ran out of time, unfortunately, because I think this is an interesting topic. So you are currently receiving paper bills, is that right?
I am, and I've just been very...
Your reluctance is if you got them in email, you might miss them.
Exactly. And so I'm in the process of, I just thought, well, why don't I just set up, my name at, bill me, Tom Bill me at yahoo.com.
Yeah.
And then I get the photo, when I get a Kohl's or Target, I can move those.
Great idea.
Once they're into the folder.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Am I making this more complicated? Should I just say, you guys go in and here's my routing number and everything, and you just go out and take it? I'm afraid.
That's what I do. Because like I said, how many times have I just forgotten to pay a bill? It's not even that I didn't have the bill. It was in an inbox. I just never got around to paying it. And then lights go off and I go, what the heck? So now I pretty much, well, for one thing, my wife won't let me pay the bills anymore. But any bills I do have are automatic. They automatically debit it, and I don't have to think about it. And for the most part, that has worked perfectly well for me.
Well, between the two, because the one, obviously, I think it's kind of my trepidations of just letting them go into my bank account. But maybe that's not a big threat, or...
I don't think it is. I mean, I wouldn't do it with, hackerweekly.com. But, if you're going, your electricity bill and all that stuff, they love it if you set that up, of course. Mm-hmm. And for me, it saves me a lot of energy and time thinking about it. I like your idea, though, having a unique account, having all your bills go to that. Then you have a record of everything.
Right.
It's funny. It's been so long. Like I said, the last time I did this probably 20 years ago, and they would send all my bills to South Dakota where the prisoners would enter in the data. That's how primitive it was. They didn't have a way to get it in automatically. What other ways would there be to do this? So everybody you deal with now sends email for bills.
No, I have had paper bills forever.
That's the problem.
And I'm kind of really tech savvy, but I'm also very conservative in my money, holding on to stuff. I want to see how much it is before I pay it, rather than it just.
So then another way to do this would be go through your bank. So almost all banks, I know my Bank of America and my USAA account both will allow me to have bills sent to them and paid automatically by them. And so that would be maybe another way to do it. And they keep an image online, as I remember. Mm-hmm. So I can click the image. It's there. It's stored in a separate place. Check with your bank. Most banks now do bill pay. And, if you're going through the bank, if there's an issue, you certainly can dispute it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, and the other nice thing about setting up the individual email account is I told my wife, I said, we both can get into this. If there's a Kohl's bill, which she usually pays,
right.
I'll see if it's...
That's a good idea. I like your idea. Yeah. Totally. I think that's a great idea. And it's free. Yahoo or Google, they all have... I would probably use Google, not Yahoo. I don't know what the status of Yahoo is going to be going forward. They keep getting sold. But use Gmail. You can use Yahoo if you like Yahoo. And it's easy to set up another account. Easy to do.
Maybe I'll do that and give you a call.
Let me know how it works. I'm the last person you should ask. I am not kidding. I'm terrible at this. Lisa said, you're not paying the bills anymore. That's it.
Okay.
Fortunately, I married a CPA, so I don't have to worry about it.
I'm not quite that lucky. I married a teacher. She's very sweet.
Oh yeah. No, I would query your bank. A lot of B of A was amazing with this, and I would check the bank, and you can get probably 90% of your bills handled through the bank directly, and they'll pay it directly. That's a good way to go.
Well, thanks for the information.
Hey, a pleasure talking to you, Tom. Thank you.
Yeah, enjoy the rest of the weekend.
You too. Take care. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, TWIT, T-W-I-T. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on Mac Break Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.